Chapter 69. Chu Wentian, you have already reached half a step into the origin realm, but you cannot make me stay. If I were to heavily injure you and then escape, you would have wasted a few months of your time to recover. Seeing that you were extremely polite to me earlier, I will give you a choice. If you leave now and save the lives of these 7 or 8 people, you will be able to answer to the sect. After Tang Ao's figure explosively retreated, he suddenly advised with kind words. This? Chu Wentian hesitated. He understood the meaning behind Tang Ao's words. Everything else was still fine, but the problem was that the lives of these 7 or 8 people were still in Tang Ao's hands. If they fought, Chu Wentian had the confidence to win, but if he did that, these 7 or 8 people would lose their lives. Ha ha, stinking brat. It seems like you don't understand the situation. Now that Senior Chu Wentian is here, you still have the mood to threaten Senior Chu? Brat, is there something wrong with your head? Senior Chu, don't listen to this idiot's nonsense. Quickly take him down. This brat has really gone mad while cultivating. He can't even understand the situation. The Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples who were watching from the side immediately crossed their arms in front of their chest and continuously ridiculed Tang Ao. You dare! Chu Wentian suddenly let out an explosive shout, and his body rapidly pounced towards Tang Ao. Tang Ao grinned, and the image of a goose feather blade suddenly explosively shot towards Chu Wentian. At the same time, the Azure Lotus Sword Spirit released 2 sharp sword auras. In an instant, the sword auras entered their bodies, and the 2 Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples who were cursing the most ferociously died on the spot. You are courting death. You still dare to kill people from my Dragon Transformation Pavilion in front of me. Chu Wentian's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, but the power of the 8 Treasure Goose Featherblade was too strong. Even Chu Wentian didn't dare to underestimate it. Chu Wentian condensed the power of 3 sword spirits and blocked the 8 Treasure Goose Featherblade. His body once again exerted force and swept his sword towards Tang Ao. Wild geese descending on the sand. Chu Wentian took a step forward as his long sword contained the force of 10,000 caddies, piercing out from below. The edge of his sword reflected a dazzling sword light as a sonic boom rang out. Tang Ao's heart pounded. If he were to receive this sword strike head-on, he would definitely suffer internal injuries from the impact. The ground beneath Chu Wentian's foot trembled from the impact. From this, one could see how much strength was contained within this sword strike. Tang Ao used his fastest speed to dodge to the side. He sighed to himself. When he returned to the 7 Kills sect, he had to choose a suitable movement technique. With a sha sound, Tang Ao's figure slowed down by a beat. His ribs were scraped, and a lump of flesh and blood appeared. This was the first time that Tang Ao had been injured since he entered the primeval forest. Tang Ao frowned as he glanced at his injury. The long spear in his hands abruptly pierced out. The long sword in Chu Wentian's hand abruptly flashed as he also slashed out towards Tang Ao. With a ding sound, the long sword and the long spear collided as sparks flew out from the friction. Tang Ao retreated a step while Chu Wentian tyrannically closed in on him, slashing out with his sword again and again. With each step he took, the ground beneath him unceasingly cracked. However, Tang Ao still maintained his gentleness as he retreated step by step. The long spear in his hands danced in the air, and in the blink of an eye, he had already received tens of attacks from Chu Wentian. Damn! Although senior brother Chu Wentian is stronger than this brat, he won't be able to defeat this brat in a short period of time. The spectating Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples instantly sensed that something was amiss. Sure, don't make any noise. Didn't you see what happened to them earlier? If this brat turns around and tries to kill us, things would be bad for us. The corpses of the Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples on the ground served as a warning to those who were watching, causing the spectating Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples to tremble in fear. Tang Ao exchanged tens of moves with Chu Wentian, and each of his moves was at a disadvantage. However, the remaining Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples discovered a terrifying truth. Although Tang Ao was only at the 6th level of the body refinement realm, he had the strength to fight against Chu Wentian. If he wanted to kill one or two of them, it was absolutely possible. Chu Wentian's physical strength and cultivation level were both higher than Tang Ao's. However, because Chu Wentian spent most of his time cultivating in the sect, he didn't have much combat experience. This caused a lot of his strength to leak out. As for Tang Ao, he was a veteran of hundreds of battles. Every single strand of his strength was infused into the 100-battle spear soul. Every move of his was like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, dissolving Chu Wentian's attacks. No, if this goes on, when the other Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples arrive, I'll be finished. Tang Ao gritted his teeth and decided to use his killing move. Tang Ao gritted his teeth and revealed a sinister smile to Chu Wentian. The 100-battle spear soul in his hands suddenly shone with a dark purplish-red color. This was the killing move that Tang Ao had comprehended after completely fusing with the 100-battle spear soul, Massacre Spear. You actually fused with a life spirit? Chu Wentian's eyes narrowed. The cold light of the long spear instantly appeared in front of Chu Wentian's face. This spear was as fast as lightning. Chu Wentian waved the long sword in his hands, and the 3 long sword life spirits trembled. Using the might of the 3 long sword life spirits, Chu Wentian managed to block this spear. Cold sweat broke out on Chu Wentian's forehead, and goosebumps appeared on his body. If this spear had struck, he would have died. Chu Wentian forcefully suppressed the cold intent in his body, and the long sword in his hands danced repeatedly. Now that he had a clear understanding of Tang Ao's strength, it was impossible to take him down in a short period of time. Ding! A crisp sound rang out as the long sword and the long spear collided once again. Tang Ao borrowed the force from the long sword and retreated explosively. He even leaped a second time in the air, and in the blink of an eye, he was already tens of feet away from Chu Wentian. He continued to flee towards the exit of the primordial forest. Trying to escape, Chu Wentian wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It was impossible for him to allow Tang Ao to escape just like that. Hence, his silhouette burst forth in the direction of Tang Ao. Chu Wentian had trained in the light body technique, and his speed was faster than Tang Ao's. After a short while, he managed to catch up to Tang Ao. This brat's spear arts are extremely exquisite, and he can defend himself so well that not even a drop of water can leak through. He also has 3 life spirits, and although he's only at the 6th level of the body refinement realm, he has the strength to fight me. If I let this tiger return to the mountains, he will definitely become a great calamity for my Dragon Transformation Pavilion in the future. Killing intent flashed in Chu Wentian's eyes. This was especially so after the scene of Tang Ao killing a fellow disciple in front of him. This caused Chu Wentian's desire to kill Tang Ao to blossom in his heart. Chu Wentian and Tang Ao, one fleeing and one chasing, had exchanged over 100 moves in the blink of an eye. Each move was thrilling and dangerous, but it was a pity that Tang Ao had already escaped from the encirclement of the 7 Kills sect disciples. There were no spectators in the surroundings. If not, the scenes of Tang Ao narrowly escaping death would be seen by the other disciples of the 7 Kills sect, and they would definitely want to kill him. Where's senior brother Chu Wentian and the scoundrel from the 7 Kills sect? The Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples came to the place where the battle took place. When they saw the corpses lying on the ground, they couldn't help but ask curiously. Senior brother Chu Wentian was chasing after that scoundrel named Tang Ao. I don't know where he went. Chapter 70. The chase had already lasted for an hour. Tang Ao's rich battle experience caused Chu Wentian to be left in the dust. Tang Ao kept on fleeing, and he was as nimble as a monstrous beast that was born and raised in nature. There was not the slightest flaw to be found. Every time Tang Ao wanted to succeed, Tang Ao would always turn around and stab out a few times like a violent storm. His moves were experienced, and did not seem to be sloppy at all. He did not even leave a single flaw for Tang Ao. Tang Ao used all his strength to defend, and he did not leave a single flaw for Chu Wentian. Chu Wentian's strength was very strong. Although he could not take down Tang Ao in a short period of time, he was able to make Tang Ao piss his pants in terror and cause Tang Ao to have some injuries on his body. Chu Wentian felt very surprised. Tang Ao was harder to deal with than he had imagined. He was harder to deal with and more cunning than he had imagined. Although Tang Ao looked very young, his battle style did not adhere to a single style. He was like a general that had experienced hundreds of battles, and there was not a single flaw. Chu Wentian relied on the fact that his strength was stronger than Tang Ao's, and that was why he was able to leave some injuries on him. However, if he were to kill Tang Ao, Chu Wentian started to doubt whether he had the ability to kill Tang Ao or not. As the chase lengthened, Chu Wentian started to feel a bit anxious in his heart. Should I use the Divine Azure Dragon Great Technique to take this child down? Chu Wentian clenched his teeth. The Divine Azure Dragon Great Technique could only be used when one stepped into the Origin Realm. However, Chu Wentian had trained in this secret technique for a very long time. If he used it now, there would be some side effects. In the Dragon Transformation Pavilion, Chu Wentian could be said to be a well-known figure. Unfortunately, because his cultivation speed was too fast, he spent most of his time in closed-door training. Thus, he did not have much combat experience. Thus, when facing against Tang Ao, Chu Wentian appeared to be in a difficult position. However, Chu Wentian was someone who had plenty of battle experience in the Dragon Transformation Pavilion. Ever since he had entered the Dragon Transformation Pavilion, he had never tasted defeat. But today, after meeting Tang Ao, Chu Wentian suddenly had the thought of going out to roam the world. He had been cultivating in seclusion within the sect for a very long time, and as a young man, it was inevitable for him to have the thought of exploring the outside world. This thought had sprouted more and more during the battles with Tang Ao, and like a single spark setting a prairie ablaze, it was uncontrollable. An outer court disciple from the 7-Kill School is able to make me fight to this state. The outside world, this world, what kind of place is it? Chu Wentian sighed, and once again, he waved his sword towards Tang Ao. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours passed. One was fleeing, and the other was chasing. Tang Ao's body was filled with cuts and bruises, but not a single wound was very serious. Over 1,000 moves had passed, but Chu Wentian still did not manage to take down Tang Ao. The distance between the two of them was already over 100 miles. On the way, the monstrous beasts were instantly frightened by the auras of the two of them, and they fled in all directions. The flowers, grasses, and trees in the surroundings were also destroyed by the sharp weapons in their hands. The long spear in Tang Ao's hand seemed to have a soul of its own. Although Chu Wentian seemed to be very powerful, in reality, every single attack of his was blocked by Tang Ao. As time passed, Tang Ao gradually became more familiar with Chu Wentian's moves. The long spear in his hand became more and more agile, and his defense became more and more flawless. He even had enough energy to counterattack once or twice. Chu Wentian once again waved his sword twice. His expression was extremely gloomy as he stared at Tang Ao's fleeing figure after blocking the 2 spear attacks. Seems like if I don't use my true abilities, I won't be able to do anything to you. Chu Wentian clenched his teeth. The longer he dragged this out, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. This primordial forest was not a suitable place for fighting. If he encountered a Sea of Souls realm beast, he would really be helpless. Moreover, if he couldn't take down Tang Ao, he would definitely be punished when he returned to the sect, and his reputation among the disciples of the Dragon Transformation Pavilion would also plummet. As he thought of this, Chu Wentian's eyes suddenly turned cold. He didn't chase after Tang Ao anymore. His figure suddenly stopped, and he stretched out a claw towards Tang Ao's fleeing figure. Boundless earth chi shot out from Chu Wentian's hand. This claw strike was like a cloud dragon reaching out, and Tang Ao's figure suddenly froze. From the moment Chu Wentian stopped running, Tang Ao had already felt that something was wrong. A majestic suction force instantly appeared on Tang Ao's back. Tang Ao only felt that the blood in his body had stagnated. The few astral chi in his body had also been enveloped by this suction force. The circulation of astral chi also showed signs of stagnation. Some of the blood in the wounds on his body was also sucked out because of this suction force. Tang Ao didn't hesitate any longer. His green lotus sword spirit appeared, and two sword lights shot towards Chu Wentian at lightning speed. Chu Wentian stretched out both his hands, and Tang Ao's eyes narrowed. At this moment, Chu Wentian's hands were like the claws of a dragon, and they looked very intimidating. The pair of dragon claws pinched at the two incoming sword lights, and the two sword lights instantly shattered, turning into light and scattering in all directions. Is this the Dragon Transformation Pavilion's divine Azure Dragon Great Art? As one of the top 3 inner disciples, it's indeed not that easy to deal with. Tang Ao clenched his teeth, and at this moment his pupils suddenly shrank. He saw Chu Wentian return the long sword in his hand to the scabbard on his back, and the 3 sword-type life spirits above his head rushed towards Tang Ao like flying swords. Not good. Divine Azure Dragon Great Art, and 3 flying swords to assist in the attack. This time I'm in trouble. Tang Ao clenched his teeth, and the green lotus sword spirit and the 8 treasures goose feather blade spirit immediately condensed. The hazy ball of light in his body circulated at full speed, and the invisible jade body in stone combined with the ancient god moving sky technique was condensed to the extreme. The entire green lotus bloomed, and the sword chi collided with the 3 flying swords. At this moment, it was still unclear who won and who lost. At this moment, the 8 treasures goose feather blade spirit joined the battle of the life spirits. 1 blade against 2 flying swords at the same time, and the pressure of the green lotus sword spirit was greatly reduced. If any Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciple saw this, they would definitely be ashamed of their previous actions of chasing after Tang Ao. Chu Wentian's figure suddenly disappeared from where he was, and when he reappeared, he was in front of Tang Ao. After the mythical Azure Dragon, even your movement technique has become so fast. Tang Ao's pupils suddenly shrank, and a spear of slaughter was pointed at Chu Wentian. Chu Wentian formed a claw with one of his hands. Looking at it from such a close distance, Tang Ao could even see the scales on Chu Wentian's hand. Tang Ao's breath suddenly tightened, and he didn't know if the spear of slaughter would be able to block Chu Wentian. The spear of slaughter clashed with the Azure Dragon's claw, and after breaking a few of the scales, it lost its effect. Chu Wentian's attack and Tang Ao's were evenly matched. Tang Ao's figure explosively retreated, and his figure turned into a dot of starlight, disappearing in an instant. Want to escape? The corner of Chu Wentian's mouth curled up into a cold smile. His figure was like a dancing dragon, and he rapidly rushed towards Tang Ao's position. In a few breaths' time, he had already caught up to Tang Ao. Chu Wentian's movement technique was originally a level higher than Tang Ao's, and now that he could transform into the Azure Dragon, he was even faster than before. Azure Dragon drinking water. Chu Wentian instantly caught up to Tang Ao. He opened his mouth and inhaled, and Tang Ao's figure abruptly turned sluggish. Break for me. Tang Ao took out the 8 treasures goose plume blade and instantly used astral chi to break the suction force. Dragon's eyes. Chu Wentian's eyes emitted a majestic tyrannical aura, and Tang Ao coughed out a mouthful of blood. When their eyes met, Tang Ao felt that it was extremely strenuous. Chapter 71. Chu Wentian was extremely anxious in his heart. Who was he? He was the 3rd-ranked disciple of the Dragon Transformation Pavilion. But who was Tang Ao? He was merely a junior of the 7 Kills sect's outer sect. In the Dragon Transformation Pavilion, Chu Wentian was a heaven's chosen that everyone paid attention to. As for Tang Ao, he was merely a small fry that hadn't even entered the inner sect of the 7 Kills sect. Yet, such a small fry had exchanged over 1,000 moves with Chu Wentian. He even forced Chu Wentian to use the divine Azure Dragon art. If he still couldn't take down Tang Ao, Chu Wentian's reputation in the Dragon Transformation Pavilion would be greatly tarnished. When Tang Ao saw Chu Wentian executing the divine Azure Dragon art, his heart was filled with fear. Chu Wentian, who had executed the divine Azure Dragon art, was incomparably terrifying. Every part of his body was a weapon. His hands had transformed into dragon claws, and even his eyes had transformed into dragon eyes. The dragon claws had an extremely strong suction force and close combat ability. The dragon eyes were also capable of mental attacks. Under the effect of the dragon claws, Tang Ao was unable to escape. The dragon eyes also caused great damage to Tang Ao. After executing the divine Azure Dragon art, Chu Wentian managed to heavily injure Tang Ao with just 2 moves. Chu Wentian no longer hesitated. The divine Azure Dragon art was extremely taxing on his body. Hence, Chu Wentian decided to swiftly take down Tang Ao. Roar! A dragon's roar reverberated throughout the forest. When the beasts in the surroundings heard this roar, they immediately scattered in all directions, not daring to remain in this place. After Chu Wentian let out this dragon's roar, all the bones in his body emitted a kacha sound. His body started to swell and twist. Chu Wentian's body started to grow longer and longer. He assumed a strange posture, as though he was a flood dragon, and rushed towards Tang Ao. In Tang Ao's eyes, Chu Wentian's silhouette grew larger and larger. Chu Wentian's claw slashed out towards Tang Ao, akin to a flood dragon emerging from the sea. Abruptly, the entire world seemed to only exist in this single claw as the roar of a dragon reverberated through the heavens. It's over. This is Chu Wentian's strongest attack. Could it be that Tang Ao, am really going to die here today? Tang Ao's heart was filled with despair. Chu Wentian, you're rank number 3 in the inner sect. Aren't you embarrassed to use this move against an outer sect disciple of my 7-kill sect? A low voice rang out as a silhouette rapidly appeared in front of Tang Ao, wanting to block Chu Wentian's attack. Fuyang! Chu Wentian's eyes emitted a bright light, and the golden dragon claw in his hand slashed towards Fuyang. Tang Ao was stunned. Facing Chu Wentian, who was half a step into the origin realm, he truly had no way to deal with him. If he continued to fight with Chu Wentian, Tang Ao would at most heavily injure Chu Wentian before dying under Chu Wentian's hands. At this moment, someone suddenly appeared. It was as if a divine soldier had descended from the heavens, causing Tang Ao to be overjoyed in his heart. The person who came was wearing black robes, and on his robes, there were all sorts of strange markings of weapons. There were 18 different types of weapons, and there were even some strange weapons that resembled small scrolls. Tang Ao had an impression of this clothing. This was the clothing of the inner sect disciples of the 7-Kills sect. Looks like the sound-transmitting talisman really did send the news to the sect. Tang Ao heaved a sigh of relief. The Dragon Transformation Pavilion had sent out their full strength. This was no longer something that could be defeated by a single person. This had already risen to the height of politics. Right now, the 7-Kills sect and the Dragon Transformation Pavilion had both sent out an inner sect disciple. Before this, Tang Ao had already killed over 20 inner sect disciples of the Dragon Transformation Pavilion. The matters between the inner sect experts had nothing to do with Tang Ao anymore. The golden dragon claw slammed towards Tang Ao. However, it was blocked by Fuyang. Fuyang twisted his waist and formed a blade with his palm. His palm followed the force from his waist, and his entire body seemed to have transformed into a long blade. His palm was the body of the blade, sharp and unstoppable. Fuyang's blade-like palm collided with Chu Wentian's dragon claw. Immediately, a series of sounds of weapons colliding rang out, and sparks flew in all directions. Chu Wentian only felt a huge force blocking his dragon claw. Helplessly, he could only borrow the huge force to flip and retreat. In an instant, he retreated a distance of 7 to 8 feet. 7-Kills Art of Slaughter. You're actually an inner sect disciple of the Seven Kills sect who cultivated the Seven Kills art of slaughter. Chu Wentian exclaimed in disbelief. This Seven Kills art of slaughter was the most profound cultivation art of the Seven Kills sect. Its quality was on par with the Dragon Transformation Pavilion's divinized Azure Dragon. That's right. If you want to kill my junior brother, you'll have to pass through me, Fuyang. Fuyang coldly spoke. In an instant, he appeared in front of Chu Wentian. His fist slammed downwards, transforming into a gigantic hammer that smashed downwards. Instantly, the sound of air being torn apart rang out. Tang Ao estimated the weight of this hammer. At the very least, it had an explosive force of 2,000 jin. Roar! Chu Wentian let out a dragon's roar, causing Fuyang's hammer to pause momentarily. Under the effect of the dragon's roar, the strength of the hammer was weakened. Chu Wentian's claws struck out, slamming into the hammer formed by Fuyang's right hand. Boom! Chapter 72. The Seven Slaughter Art was a cultivation technique that had extremely high requirements for one's martial techniques. It required at least 7 different types of weapons in order to unleash its full power. Fuyang was ranked 5th in the Seven Kills sect's intersect, but he only managed to barely activate the Seven Slaughter Art after cultivating 7 different types of weapons to the advanced realm. However, just forcibly activating it was already extremely terrifying. Fuyang's hammer arts and saber arts had both been cultivated to an extraordinary level. Earlier, although Fuyang didn't have any weapons in his hands, he was able to transform his palms into sabers and his fists into hammers. With just 2 moves, he was able to force Chu Wentian into a corner, forcing him to use the killing technique of the divinized Azure Dragon Great Art. After Chu Wentian executed the Flood Dragon Absorbs Water, Fuyang's ghost-like silhouette instantly became like a turtle crawling on the ground. This Flood Dragon Absorbs Water completely restricted Fuyang's speed. However, Fuyang didn't even think of using his movement technique to defeat Chu Wentian. After his movement technique was restricted, Fuyang quickly reacted. Fuyang's combat reaction was extremely fast. He sent out a roundhouse kick towards Chu Wentian. An air-rending sound rang out. Fuyang's leg was like a long whip as it slammed into Chu Wentian's body. Instantly, a streak of blood appeared on Chu Wentian's body. Senior brother Fuyang has fused sword, spear, hammer, whip, saber, these 7 types of weapons into his martial Dao. The Seven Slaughter Art is like a container for martial techniques, allowing the 7 different types of weapons to unleash an incomparably agile might. Earlier, Chu Wentian had expended a lot of energy fighting against me. Now that he's fighting against senior brother Fuyang at his peak condition, he will definitely lose. Tang Ao secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Now that he had senior brother Fuyang's help, his life would definitely not be in danger. As expected, even though Chu Wentian had executed the divinized Azure Dragon Great Art, he was still forced to retreat by Fuyang's Seven Slaughter Art. In just a few breaths of time, a few more wounds appeared on his body. That pair of dragon claws that emitted golden light was also bleeding profusely under Fuyang's hammering technique. Today, if you want to bring Tang Ao away in front of me, I'm afraid that will be impossible. Fuyang coldly spoke. His frenzied attacks abruptly halted as he attempted to call a truce with Chu Wentian. After all, if they continued fighting, he, Fuyang, might be injured. This time, 5th Elder Linzhang's mission was to bring Tang Ao back to the Seven Kills sect safely. If he tried to kill Chu Wentian, even if Fuyang managed to kill Chu Wentian, he would be heavily injured and would have to enter seclusion for a few months to recuperate. No. Tang Ao has already killed over 20 disciples of my Dragon Transformation Pavilion. If I don't bring Tang Ao back, the elders will definitely punish me heavily. Chu Wentian subconsciously said. What did you say? A strange expression appeared on Fuyang's face as he stared at Tang Ao, who was panting heavily under the tree. Chu Wentian, have you gone mad? This brat alone killed over 20 disciples of your dragon transformation pavilion? You're not talking nonsense, are you? If you don't believe me, you can ask him yourself. This brat killed over 20 disciples of my dragon transformation pavilion. You have to give me an explanation. Chu Wentian flew into a rage out of humiliation. If Tang Ao were to follow Fuyang back to the Seven Kills sect, he wouldn't be able to accept it. It was a disciple of your dragon transformation pavilion who acted first. That guy named Bei Chong wanted to kill me the moment he appeared. I don't even have any interest in the corpse of the Phoenix Emperor bird. Bei Chong even claimed that I'm a disciple of an enemy sect. Could it be that if he wants to kill me, I should just stand there and let him kill me? Tang Ao suddenly spoke. That's right. The relationship between my Seven Kills sect and your dragon transformation pavilion isn't that good. You still want an explanation? Fine. Fuyang will tell you this. Unless you kill me, don't even think of touching a single hair on my junior brother Tang Ao's head. Fuyang spoke with perfect articulation. His body stood in front of Tang Ao as though he would attack at any moment. Tang Ao felt a warmth in his heart. At this moment, he was truly moved. He silently memorized Fuyang's name in his heart. If Fuyang was in trouble in the future, he would definitely do his best to help. Good. Very good. You're called Fuyang, right? Chu Wentian, will remember you. If it wasn't for the fact that I've been fighting with this brat for so long, you would have already died under my dragon claws. Chu Wentian gritted his teeth and cursed. After that, he turned around and left. With a few leaps, he disappeared from Tang Ao and Fuyang's vision. After Chu Wentian left, Tang Ao panted heavily. Although his body was heavily injured, he still forced himself to stand up and respectfully bowed to Fuyang. Many thanks for senior brother Fuyang's help. Fuyang nodded his head, his eyes filled with kindness. After you sent out the sound-transmitting talisman, Elder Lin Jiang was very worried about you. The other inner disciples were all in closed-door training, and I just so happened to be in the martial skill pavilion, so Elder Lin Jiang asked me to rush to the primordial forest to find you. You're quite lucky to be found by me so quickly. If I was a moment later, you might have already died under Chu Wentian's claws. Tang Ao sighed, with lingering fear in his heart. There were many demonic beasts in the primordial forest. This trip to the primordial forest was truly filled with twists and turns. The pursuit of the flame emperor bird, the illusionary sound python's cave, and the conflict with the dragon transformation pavilion's disciple. One scene after another appeared in Tang Ao's mind, causing Tang Ao's gaze to become misty. Seeing the pensive look on Tang Ao's face, Fuyang laughed heartily. Patting Tang Ao's shoulder, he said, "All right, I believe you must have gained something from this trip. Let's hurry back to the Seven Kills sect. The fifth elder is still waiting for our news." "All right, we'll do as senior brother says." Tang Ao nodded his head. With a thought, the spear in his hand disappeared, transforming into a speck of starlight that shot into the center of Tang Ao's eyebrows. The spear in your hand is actually a manifestation of a life soul. From the looks of it, the condensation of this life soul is already very high, Fuyang said in surprise. A life soul had to have a high compatibility to be able to materialize. No, senior brother, it's because the cultivation technique I cultivate is too strange. I was born with a very high degree of compatibility with my life soul, Tang Ao said hesitantly. If my life soul's compatibility was as high as yours, my 7-kill slaughtering art would have long reached the greater mastery realm. You brat, you're still trying to act innocent after getting the better end of the stick. Are you trying to make me jealous? Fuyang laughed heartily. In the 7-kill sect, almost everyone was impolite to Tang Ao, except Fuyang. Fuyang gave Tang Ao a very good feeling, and he had the intention of befriending him. Junior brother, you're injured now. Let's find a place nearby to recuperate for a month before returning to the 7-kill sect. During this period, I'll protect you, Fuyang said to Tang Ao as he patted his muscular chest. Chapter 73. In the 7-kill school of the Eastern Domain, there were two silhouettes at the foot of the mountain. They were Tang Ao and Fuyang, who rushed back from the forest. Fuyang's realm was the same as Chu Wentian's, half a step into the origin realm. Only those who reached the origin realm could condense true energy and use their body to communicate with the essence of the world. From there, they could reach the state where their body and mind were one and communicate with everything in the world. Because they couldn't fly and bring Tang Ao back to the school, Fuyang and Tang Ao had to quickly rush back on foot. Actually, even if Fuyang reached the first level of the origin realm, he still couldn't fly and bring Tang Ao back to the school. Because they couldn't fly and bring Tang Ao back to the school, Fuyang and Tang Ao had to quickly rush back on foot. Actually, even if Fuyang reached the first level of the origin realm, he still couldn't fly and bring Tang Ao back to the school. Also, there were many strong flying monsters in the forest. Although Fuyang was strong, he didn't dare to barge in and appear in the field of vision of a group of flying monsters. Therefore, Tang Ao and Fuyang used 3 days to return to the 7 Kills school. Junior, we're back. Fuyang looked at the vast and boundless mountain gate of the 7 Kills school, and a sunny smile appeared on his face. Phew! Tang Ao heaved a sigh of relief. Originally, I thought that this trip to the forest was only a small one. But in the end, I broke through 3 realms and even caused a group of Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples to encircle me. Now that I think about what happened in the forest, it really makes me sigh. Don't think too much. Quickly exchange your gains for contribution points to the school. Then, take the contribution points and spend it extravagantly in the school. Alright, you can even use the contribution points to trade with female disciples. Fuyang said meaningfully. From this, it could be seen that the contribution points to the school were extremely mysterious. Even beauty could be used to trade. Fuyang and Tang Ao walked along a tree-shaded path filled with flowers and grass. They slowed down their pace along the way and looked at the beautiful scenery around them while pointing and commenting. The friendship between Tang Ao and Fuyang was rapidly fermenting. It was as if the two of them had known each other for a long time, and outsiders could not see any clues. Tang Ao's understanding of martial arts made Fuyang admire him. Interacting with Tang Ao was like communicating with an experienced old man. Tang Ao won Fuyang's respect in a short time. Fuyang had many things he didn't understand about martial arts, but under Tang Ao's guidance, he was suddenly enlightened. Tang Ao, a cry of surprise sounded. Tang Ao and Fuyang both turned around and saw a tall girl walking over gracefully. Behind her, there were a few other girls following, like green leaves setting off fresh flowers. Zhao Shui. Tang Ao looked at the girl who was in her early 20s. It took him a long time to remember who she was. Wasn't this Zhao Shui, the girl whose but was spanked by him during the Outer Sect Challenge? Zhao Shui hesitated for a moment, but still said, "Where have you been these days? I couldn't find you no matter how hard I tried." Tang Ao's face darkened in an instant. He said with dissatisfaction, "Why are you looking for me? Could it be that your butt is itchy and you want me to help you stop it?" You. Zhao Shui's chest heaved up and down. In the end, she didn't even look back as she ran outside. There were a few crystal clear tears on the ground. Tang Ao, you made Zhao Shui cry again. From today onwards, we will be irreconcilable enemies with you. After Zhao Shui left, the surrounding girls immediately started scolding Tang Ao. Fuyang had no choice but to pull Tang Ao away from the scene. The disciples of the 7 Kills sect were bustling with activity. Some were diligently cultivating their martial skills, some were meditating, and all of them were actively pursuing the martial Tao. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao recalled the words of the group of Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples in the primeval forest. For example, the 7 Kills sect was a demonic path sect, and they slaughtered all day long. In recent years, blood had flowed like rivers, and so on and so forth. This group of Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples is really hopeless. Tang Ao recalled the words of the Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples, and his face was filled with black lines. At this moment, in another sect in the East Domain, Dragon Transformation Pavilion, there are more than 50 of you. and yet you can't even take down Tang Ao alone? An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion looked at the 30 Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples kneeling on the ground. His eyes were cold, and no one dared to look him in the eye. All the Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples present lowered their heads in shame and anger. Among these 30 disciples, there was Chu Wentian. Chu Wentian was kneeling at the head of the group. His body was dripping with blood, because he had expended too much quintessence while chasing after Tang Ao. When he faced Fuyang, his quintessence was insufficient, and he had been injured by Fuyang. In addition, he had executed the divine Green Dragon Great Art in a situation where his quintessence was insufficient, making his situation even worse. By the time he returned to the Dragon Transformation Pavilion, he was already heavily injured. Elder, although that Tang Ao only has the cultivation of the 6th level of the body refining realm, his physical body is extremely strong. His martial skills are also very experienced, and his battle experience is very rich. It is reasonable for us to fall in his hands. That Tang Ao's spear technique is extremely sharp, and he is like an old sharpshooter who has played with the spear for tens of years. He even comprehended the spear intent. Chu Wentian was the first to speak. He was the clearest about Tang Ao's strength. The group of Dragon Transformation Pavilion disciples did not do anything wrong. If they were punished when they returned to the sect, it would be even worse. Thinking of Tang Ao's tyrannical and domineering spear that was filled with killing intent, Chu Wentian couldn't help but shiver. That was Tang Ao's spear of massacre. It was a spear intent comprehended after completely fusing with 100 battle spear soul. Chu Wentian, let me ask you, why is it that you, an inner disciple half a step into the origin realm, couldn't even take down an outer disciple from the 7 Kills sect? The elder of the Technique Inheritance Hall angrily said as he coldly stared at Chu Wentian, who was kneeling on the ground. There is a disciple from the 7 Kills sect who has cultivated the 7 Kill art of massacre. His name is Fuyang. He acted and saved Tang Ao. I fought against that 7 Kills sect disciple named Fuyang, and both of us were injured. Chu Wentian spoke in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing. He felt that in the entire process, Chu Wentian, had already done his best, and he did not do anything wrong. 7 Kill art of massacre? The elder frowned, and his expression was heavy. He sighed in his heart. Chu Wentian, although you have already done your best, the fact that over 20 of our Dragon Transformation Pavilion's disciples have died cannot be changed. As the 3rd-ranked disciple in the inner sect, you actually failed to take down that bastard Tang Ao. You should be punished. Yes. Chu Wentian shamefully lowered his head even more. Damned 7 Kills sect. They actually killed so many of my Dragon Transformation Pavilion's disciples. I will definitely report this to the sect head. That bastard Tang Ao, I will definitely kill him. The elder of the Technique Inheritance Hall spoke emotionally. Looking at the shattered soul jade pendants on the ground, he suddenly waved his hand and broke the chair. Chapter 74. Within the Dragon Transformation Pavilion, Chu Wentian was being punished. Compared to Tang Ao's triumphant return, it was a completely different scene. As for how Chu Wentian would be punished, Tang Ao naturally wouldn't think too much about it. Tang Ao was a simple-minded person to begin with, so he naturally wouldn't worry about someone from an enemy sect. After bidding farewell to Fuyang, the two brothers parted ways. Fuyang returned to the inner sect to hand over the tasks, while Tang Ao went to exchange for the spoils from the primeval forest. After obtaining the sect's contribution points, he would head to the Martial Skill Pavilion to exchange for cultivation techniques, as well as some cultivation resources. Where is the place to exchange contribution points? Tang Ao thought for a moment. He wanted to grab a random disciple and ask him, but after some thought, he felt that it wasn't appropriate. Forget it, I'll go look for that old man Lin Jiang directly. And so, Tang Ao strolled leisurely towards the outer sect Elders Pavilion. Within the Elders Pavilion, the 10 elders of the 7 Kills sect had gathered, discussing some important matters. The operation of a sect requires a strong financial support. In the current secular world, our Seven Kills sect has a total of 17 cities as our vassals. Fifth Elder Lin Jiang pointed at a map on the table with a solemn expression. The other 9 elders looked at it with rapt attention, their faces revealing thoughtful expressions. I'm sure everyone knows how intense the competition between the sects of the Eastern region is. The ownership of the various cities of the Eastern region's secular world is the source of our economic operations. Because the strength of the various sects has been changing in recent years, the ownership of the cities has been changing constantly. Our Seven Kill sect is ranked at the top of the Eastern region's rankings, and we've recruited many disciples in recent years. So, it's time for us to expand our influence in the secular world. As soon as the 5th elder finished speaking, the other 9 elders nodded in unison. The Seven Kill sect's name seemed very bloody and sharp, but in reality, the sect was very harmonious. There were no factions fighting, and they were very united. Therefore, the Seven Kills sect's strength was getting stronger and stronger. In recent years, the city governor of Cheong City, Radiant City, and Water Pearl City has been wavering due to the weakness of their vassal sections. If we arrange for our disciples to infiltrate them and support the factions that are close to our Seven Kills sect, we'll definitely be able to control the resources of these cities, the 6th elder said. The other elders nodded and smiled. Due to the fact that the city was a national asset, the major sects did not want to be too greedy in order to avoid incurring the wrath of the imperial court. Therefore, they supported a faction in each place. Once this faction was successfully supported to a higher position, they would receive a large amount of resources from the city every year. That was one of the ways the sects managed the resources in the secular world. Although the sects were places that were hidden from the world, they still needed fuel, rice, oil, and salt. They still needed large amounts of silver and cultivation resources. Those things could only be found in the secular world through power. The more powerful the sect was, the more control they had over the secular world. The more powerful the sect was, the more resources they could get. That was already an unwritten rule between the sects and the secular world. If some sects wanted more resources, they could only use their fists to do the talking. However, the sects would only send their disciples over. The higher-ups would not do anything. The competition was purely on the disciples' abilities. All the sects would indifferently follow that unwritten rule. No one was exempted. The city governor of Water Pearl City, Feng Yuan, has always been neutral. He only listens to the imperial court. However, according to the information that our Seven Kills sect sent over in the secular world, although Feng Yuan's strength is at the peak of the origin realm, he has a hidden injury from fighting in his early years, causing his lifespan to end early. So, recently, he wants to choose one of his children who has a good character to inherit the position of the city governor. The 3rd elder's eyes glittered. Clearly, there was something going on in Water Pearl City. Just at that time, a roar came from outside the elder's hall. Roar, roar. Old man Lin Jiang, I, Tang Ao, have returned. Why aren't you coming out to welcome me? The 5th elder Lin Jiang, as well as the 6th elder and 7th elder who had seen Tang Ao before, had faces of helplessness. The other 7 elders frowned as they thought in their hearts, who is so impudent? This child is named Tang Ao. His talent is extraordinary. When he was at the 3rd level of the body refining realm, he already had the fate spirit of the 9th level of the Great Thousand World. Not long after he entered the sect, he already had the strength of the 2nd strongest in the outer court. If this child is given a few more years to grow, he will definitely become an influential person. Lin Jiang seemed to feel the dissatisfaction in the other elders' hearts and immediately spoke up for Tang Ao. The 7 elders who had never seen Tang Ao before instantly understood in their hearts. Towards geniuses, they were extremely tolerant. As Tang Ao walked past, he casually knocked down a few disciples on duty who did not open their eyes. Then, he casually walked into the meeting room and found a place to sit down. Boy, this time you entered the primordial forest and caused such a big commotion. Did you have any rewards? Lin Jiang asked with a smile, and his face was filled with kindness. Don't mention it. It was very dangerous. I was chased by the fire emperor bird, and I also met illusionary sound python at the 4th or 5th level of the origin realm. After that, I was chased by dragon transformation pavilion disciples. As soon as Tang Ao mentioned it, he started talking endlessly. Of course, he left out the part about the illusionary sound python's golden spring and the natural treasures within the cave. When the elders heard that, they all broke out in a cold sweat. In their hearts, they thought that Tang Ao was too daring. With the strength of the 3rd level of the body refining realm, he dared to enter such a deep place in the primordial forest, and he was even alone. When they heard that a single person killed over 20 dragon transformation pavilion disciples, the hearts of the elders jumped. That was a big matter, and it would be raised to the height of politics. After Tang Ao chattered, he took out 2 items from the storage pouch that he robbed. One was the gallbladder of the illusionary sound python, and the other was the fire emperor bird's monster core. Boundless aura instantly came out from the storage pouch, and the hearts of the elders jumped. These 2 items are the most precious parts of origin realm monstrous beasts. I'll give you 1,000 contribution points for each one, Lin Jiang said with a smile. His eyes were glittering, and no one knew what he was calculating. It's still you who understands my heart the best. With a glance, you knew that I didn't know where to exchange contribution points, Tang Ao said satisfyingly. He crossed his legs and had an appearance of, I don't put anyone in my eyes. Exchange your contribution points first, then come here to find me. I have a mission for you. Lin Jiang thought for a while and felt that Tang Ao was the best candidate for that mission. Tang Ao left with satisfaction. In this trip to the primordial forest, he also realized that he had many shortcomings. He exchanged for the 7-kill massacre a bit too early. It would be better to find a suitable martial skill. After Tang Ao left, Lin Jiang's eyes shot out a ray of light, and he said to the other 9 elders, What do you think of this child? Right now, the ranked inner court disciples of the 7-kill school are all in seclusion. Why not let him go to the mortal world and broaden his horizons? Chapter 75. Tang Ao didn't consume the fire emperor bird's demonic core and the illusionary sound python's gallbladder. He had his own plans. Firstly, although the fire emperor bird's demonic core and illusionary sound python's gallbladder could allow him to refine a large amount of spiritual energy, the energy within the body of these demonic beasts was often mixed with energy that was difficult for humans to refine. Normally, this type of energy would only be used under special circumstances. For example, if one's aptitude was too poor, they would need the demonic core to forcefully break through. Tang Ao naturally didn't need such an item. Secondly, Tang Ao needed the sect's contribution points to exchange for martial techniques and other resources. Although the natural treasures within the illusionary sound python's cave could be exchanged for contribution points, this would expose the secret within the cave. Although Tang Ao was high profile in his actions, he didn't like his secrets being spied on. He wasn't a brainless person. Tang Ao rushed all the way. When the surrounding disciples discovered Tang Ao's return, they were all discussing in secret. Look, the outer sects ranked 2nd. Tang Ao is back. I heard that he went to that godforsaken primeval forest some time ago. He is at the 3rd tier of the body refining realm. Can he really come back alive? He must have gone to the outer perimeter of the primeval forest. He didn't kill any strong demonic beasts. That's right. The primeval forest is a place for inner sect disciples to enter and exit. He is just an outer sect disciple. He must be dreaming too much. Tang Ao was now at the peak of the 6th tier of the body refining realm. His hearing was extremely sharp. Hearing the words of the disciples, Tang Ao shook his head. This group of disciples was really too ignorant. They really hadn't seen the world. No wonder they had stayed in the outer sect for so long. However, Tang Ao was also cursing Lin Jiang in his heart for not stopping him from entering the primeval forest. Tang Ao knew how dangerous the primeval forest was. That old man Lin Jiang saw him entering the primeval forest alone and didn't even know how to stop him, causing him to almost lose his life. Arriving at the martial skills pavilion, The caretaker who was guarding the door was about to fall asleep. Tang Ao went up and gave him a kick. Now that the 10 great elders were in a meeting and the caretaker of the martial skills pavilion had temporarily left, Tang Ao had no more misgivings. "Old man, open the door for me," Tang Ao said fiercely, and a formless aura pressured the caretaker. The old steward was suffocated by this aura and hurriedly opened the bronze door. Outer disciples can only enter the first and second floor of the martial skill pavilion. The first floor of the martial skill pavilion has low-level martial skills, while the second floor has middle-level martial skills. You are an outer disciple, so you can only enter these 2 floors, the old steward said while dripping with cold sweat. Tang Ao turned around and silently stared at him. After a long while, the old steward shivered and said, "If you want to go to the 3rd or 4th floor, that's fine too. However, the martial skills, they're all high-level or even peak-level martial skills. I'm afraid you don't have enough contribution points." Tang Ao couldn't be bothered with the caretaker. He went straight to the 3rd floor of the martial skills pavilion. No wonder when I came here for the first time, the martial techniques I saw were all of the same standard. It turns out that the martial skills pavilion has a total of 4 floors. Tang Ao scolded. However, the 7-kill sect opened the 7-kill slaughtering art to all disciples. This is a wise move. However, there are only a few people who are willing to cultivate the 7-kill slaughtering art. Tang Ao was well aware of the rules of the martial skill pavilion. Outer sect disciples could only exchange for 2 middle-ranked martial skills or 4 low-ranked martial skills at a time. However, Tang Ao had never been one to abide by the rules. He directly disregarded the rules and went to the 3rd floor, carefully looking at the surrounding martial skills. Moon Listening Seal, a high-tier martial technique. Using the essence of the moon to cultivate. When trained to the extreme, one can borrow the pure energy of the moonlight. Requires 150 contribution points. Tyrannical Spirit Blade, a high-tier martial technique. Attach true power to the edge of the blade and fuse with the blade. Within it, there is a blade martial technique. When fighting with others, one can use their weapon to obtain victory. Requires 200 contribution points. 7 Fiend Sword, a high-tier martial technique. When trained to the extreme, one can condense 7 types of evil aura, and there is a sword martial technique. Requires 200 contribution points. Tang Ao roughly scanned a few books and shook his head. Right now, he had 2,000 contribution points, and he didn't want to waste time on these low-tier martial techniques. These martial techniques were all martial techniques under the Origin Realm. Even top-tier martial techniques were the same. Since there aren't any martial techniques that I like here, I'll go to the 4th floor to search for higher-ranked martial techniques. Tang Ao licked his lips, and quickly after, he went up to the higher 4th floor. Arriving at the 4th floor, Tang Ao directly saw from the area where the martial techniques were marked. Most of the top-tier martial techniques were 300 contribution points per book, and a small number of martial techniques were 400 contribution points per book. He could even see some martial techniques that were 500 contribution points per book. Tang Ao's gaze started to wander around the martial techniques that were 400 contribution points per book. Very quickly, he found a body cultivation martial technique called Iron Steel Gravel, a mysterious valley kick. That was 400 contribution points per book, and a Silver Frost Tyrannical Blade. That was 500 contribution points per book. After exchanging for all of them, Tang Ao wanted to take the martial techniques back to seclusion. In the primordial forest, Tang Ao realized that although he had the hidden jade body in stone and had the support of the ancient god moving the sky, so his body was nurtured to be extremely strong, if he had a body cultivation technique, Tang Ao would become even stronger. Iron Steel Gravel had a total of 12 levels. After cultivating to the 12th level, one could completely use their body to fight against existences of the Origin Realm. It was extremely overbearing. Mysterious Valley Kick was a bodily martial technique. As a top-notch technique, naturally, it had its own exquisiteness. Finally, it was the Silver Frost Tyrannical Blade, that required the most contribution points. That blade technique just happened to be the martial technique that Tang Ao needed, since he just awakened the 8-treasure goose featherblade life spirit. He urgently needed a method that was compatible with the blade soul. Tang Ao took out his disciple badge and pressed it against the 3 martial techniques. Instantly, only 700 points remained from the 2,000 points on the badge. Tang Ao felt satisfied, so he took the copies of the 3 martial techniques back to his bedroom. When he left, the old manager looked at the 3 martial techniques that Tang Ao took out and was instantly shocked. "Aren't you just an outer court disciple? Where did the contribution points come from?" Shortly after, the old manager said with a heavy tone and heartfelt heart, "It's normal for young people to walk the wrong path, but you shouldn't randomly take martial techniques. That's immoral." "Bullshit. You've gone senile. You think that I would steal your books?" Tang Ao said furiously. "That's right. I'm the one who did it." This. The old manager was choked by Tang Ao, and he was instantly speechless. After returning to his bedroom, Tang Ao took out the 3 martial techniques secret manuals that he just bought and carefully read them. Very quickly, he entered a cultivation state. The secret manuals that he bought had to be returned to the Martial Skill Pavilion within a month. That also meant that Tang Ao only had a month's time to digest the martial techniques that he bought. After a month, he still had to take the 3 manuals back to the Martial Skill Pavilion to prevent them from being privately passed on to others. Chapter 76. After Tang Ao returned to his room, he immediately sat cross-legged and entered into a state of cultivation. Tang Ao's comprehension was very high. In addition to his spirit power from 2 lives, Tang Ao quickly memorized iron steel sand. That night, he cultivated iron steel sand to the 4th level. Iron steel sand was a top technique for those under the origin realm. The first 4 levels train the surface of the body and strengthen the flesh. Iron steel sand, 5th level. The first 4 levels condense the defense of the skin and flesh. When reaching the 5th level, use your star chi to condense the flesh and bones. Your power will increase by leaps and bounds, and normal blades and swords will find it hard to injure you. When reaching the 5th level, when activating iron steel sand, faint iron sand will appear on the surface of the body, and your defense will greatly increase. Tang Ao squinted his eyes and carefully felt the mysteries of iron steel sand. Tang Ao had the hidden jade in stone body, and he had a natural advantage when it came to body-strengthening martial arts. When cultivating body-strengthening martial arts, his speed was extremely fast. Tang Ao already had the thought of cultivating body-strengthening martial arts, and now he finally had the chance. Iron steel sand, 6th level. Activate the body of iron sand to shatter the enemy's blades and spears and condense the Jun formula. Iron steel sand, 9th level. When activated, iron sand will cover the entire body. Those under the origin realm will find it hard to injure you barehanded. Iron steel sand, 12th level. The body will be like an iron wall. Even if you burn it with true fire, it will be hard to refine it. Tang Ao's mind continuously flipped through the contents of iron steel sand. He was more and more shocked. Those under the origin realm will find it hard to injure them barehanded. That meant that unless the opponent had a godly weapon in their hand, it would be hard to injure them if they just stood there without moving. If the iron steel sand was trained to the 9th level, it would also mean that the body would be complete. Those under the origin realm would be nearly invincible. This is probably the 7 kills sex ultimate body tempering technique. This time, the primeval forest is indeed a bountiful harvest. If it were an ordinary disciple, it would probably take them a year to accumulate 400 contribution points. Tang Ao was overjoyed. This iron steel sand was worth 400 contribution points. It was indeed worth it. Late that night, Tang Ao entered into a state of cultivation. Tang Ao possessed the hidden jade and stone body, and his physique was already much stronger than people of the same realm, but it was only by a lot. If he used a body-refining martial skill as a catalyst, Tang Ao would definitely be able to go further on the path of body refining. In the illusionary sound Python's cave abode, Tang Ao had soaked in the golden spring. Not only had he been cured of the hidden injuries he had suffered since he was young, but his physique had also improved greatly. The impurities in his cultivation were also expelled during the soaking process. Back then, Tang Ao could match a martial artist at the third tier of the body refining realm just by using his physical strength. Because the strength of his physical body had already reached a level where he could match a martial artist at the third tier of the body refining realm, in addition to the fact that Tang Ao possessed the hidden jade and stone body and had an extremely high level of comprehension, Tang Ao quickly cultivated the iron steel sand to the entry level. That night, Tang Ao cultivated the iron steel sand to the first level. After stepping into the first level, Tang Ao could clearly feel the changes in his skin. He condensed his stellar chi and circulated it according to the meridians in an iron steel sand for a full cycle. The surface of his body immediately changed. It became condensed, powerful, and extraordinarily tough. Tang Ao also felt that his strength could improve further. Using the foundation that he had tempered in the illusionary sound Python's cave abode, Tang Ao's cultivation speed of the iron steel sand did not slow down. He continued cultivating in one go, and his progress was rapid. Second level broken, third level broken, fourth level broken. After Tang Ao broke through to the fourth level, his progress became extremely slow. Tang Ao knew that his foundation had been completely used up. The accumulation in the illusionary sound Python's cave abode had been completely used up. That's right, that old man Lin Jiang told me to look for him after I finished exchanging for the martial technique. I don't know why he called me. Right now, the sky is still dark. I might as well continue cultivating the martial technique. Tang Ao suddenly recalled that when he left the Elder's Pavilion, Fifth Elder Lin Jiang seemed to have something to tell him. Tang Ao's thoughts immediately became active. This time, when Tang Ao went to the Martial Techniques Pavilion to exchange, not only did he exchange for the body-refining martial technique, iron steel sand, he also exchanged for two martial techniques. They were Mysterious Centipede Kick and Silver Frost Overlord Saber. Silver Frost Overlord Saber was naturally a supreme grade saber technique. When cultivated to the extreme, one could condense a silver frost saber aura. The attack would have a frosty effect and would be extremely powerful. As for Mysterious Centipede Kick, it was a leg technique as well as a movement martial technique. When cultivated to the extreme, one's leg force would be endless, and one's movements would be agile and hard to grasp. During the trip to the primeval forest, Tang Ao had been chased by Chu Wentian until he pissed his pants. Although Tang Ao's speed was very fast, Tang Ao had already made up his mind to find a movement martial technique. Only then would he be agile and nimble when faced with true danger. Right now, my cultivation has already reached the peak of the 6th tier of the body refining realm. It's time to improve further. Tang Ao thought about it. Right now, the sky was still dark. After daybreak, he still had to look for Lin Jiang and see what Lin Jiang had to say to him. As for Silver Frost Overlord Saber and Mysterious Centipede Kick, Tang Ao could only cultivate them in the future. As he thought to this point, Tang Ao took out a few sets of 500-year-old medicinal herbs from his storage pouch. He still had a lot of these medicinal herbs in stock because the amount of treasure stored in the illusionary Sound Python's cave was simply too shocking. Even Tang Ao was a little surprised. After breaking through to the 7th tier of the body refining realm, I will be the number 1 person in the 7 Kills Sect's outer sect. That Shui Yun is the Saint Lady of the Central Region's Holy Land. Although she definitely has some trump cards, Tang Ao, will definitely be able to defeat her after breaking through to the 7th tier of the body refining realm. Tang Ao recalled that day during the Outer Sect Challenge competition. Shui Yun's terrifying aura had been unleashed. Shortly after, he swallowed a few sets of 500 to 600-year-old medicinal herbs and began to refine them. The next morning, Tang Ao sat cross-legged, and the astral energy on his body surged, bringing about a cloud of white mist. Right now was the crucial period of breaking through to the bottleneck. The bedsheets in the room were shaking slightly, and dust was flying everywhere. The window frame was making a whooshing sound. With a crisp ding, Tang Ao's aura shook, and the window frame quickly opened and closed. Tang Ao opened his eyes, and there was a faint jade-like glow on his body. The 7th tier of the body refining realm. In a month's time, I've actually risen by 4 tiers. Compared to my cultivation speed in my previous life, my speed is double. Tang Ao clenched his fists and punched the air viciously. This punch actually caused a sonic boom. Tang Ao's rapid advancement was completely due to the fortuitous encounter in the illusionary sound python's cave. If not for the fortuitous encounter in the illusionary sound python's cave, Tang Ao would not have broken through so quickly. As he broke through to the next tier, the barrier of the iron steel sand also loosened. Tang Ao could faintly feel that the strength of his corporeal body had faintly improved along with the breakthrough of his tier. Iron Steel Sand Level 6. Can activate the Iron Steel Sand body to shatter the enemy's sabers, swords, spears, and rods, and condense the tremor formula. This is a hidden trump card. If I can break through to the 6th tier of the Iron Steel Sand body, then I will have a trump card on me. Chapter 77. Tang Ao opened the door to his room and rushed all the way. Soon, he arrived at 5th Elder Lin Jiang's residence. "Kid, you're here." Lin Jiang turned around. After seeing Tang Ao, his expression changed. He exclaimed, "You broke through to the 7th tier of the body refining realm? How is it?" "A genuine 7th tier of the body refining realm. Impressive, right?" Tang Ao said with a cheeky smile. Hiss. 5th Elder Lin Jiang sucked in a breath of cold air. He said in disbelief, "A month ago, you were just a small fry at the 3rd tier of the body refining realm. You actually broke through 4 tiers in a month." "Nonsense. Who do you think I am? I am someone who wants to break through to the highest Han Tian realm. How can a puny body refining realm trouble me?" Tang Ao was dissatisfied after seeing Lin Jiang's shock and retorted sarcastically, This. 5th Elder's face turned red. Tang Ao's cultivation level had risen too quickly, and he could not react in time. "All right, old Lin Jiang, what business do you have with me? Didn't you say you would come here immediately after choosing your martial technique?" Tang Ao did not have the time to talk nonsense with Lin Jiang and went straight to the point. Cough, cough. 5th Elder coughed awkwardly and then took out a map. He pointed at 3 places on the map and said, "These are the locations of Cheong City, Radiant City, and Dewdrop City. I want to send you to the mortal world to help one of the factions in the city obtain the ownership of the city. Which one do you think is suitable?" Tang Ao's eyes lit up, and he exclaimed in surprise, "What? I can make a trip down to the mortal world?" The operation of a sect requires a strong economic support. In the mortal world, our 7 Kills sect has a total of 17 cities as our vassals. The competition between the major sects in the East region is very intense. The ownership of the major cities in the East region's mortal world is the source of our economic operations. Because in recent years, there have been changes in the strength of the major sects, so the ownership of the cities has been constantly changing. Our 7 Kill sect is ranked at the top of the Eastern domain, and in recent years, we have recruited a lot of disciples, so we also need to expand our influence in the secular world. Lin Jiang spoke with assurance, and Tang Ao also listened attentively. In recent years, the city lords of Cheong City, Radiant City, and Dewdrop City have been wavering because their vassals are weak. If we arrange for our disciples to infiltrate them and support the factions that are close to our 7 Kills sect, we can control the resources of these cities. Because the city is a national asset, the major sects can't be too greedy in order to avoid the wrath of the imperial court. Therefore, they support a close faction in each place. Once this faction is successfully supported to the top, they can receive a large amount of resources from the city every year. This is how the sect manages the resources of the mortal world. Although my 7 Kill sect is a secluded place, we still need fuel, rice, oil, and salt. We still need large amounts of silver and cultivation resources. These things can only be found in the mortal world through the power of our own disciples. The more powerful a sect was, the more control it had over the secular world. The more powerful a sect was, the more resources it could obtain. This was an unwritten rule between a sect and the secular world. If a sect wanted more resources, they could only use their fists to do the talking. Our 7 Kill sect is ranked 3rd in the East region, so it's time to move the control of the cities. However, the sects will only send their disciples there, and the higher-ups will not take any action. The competition is entirely based on the abilities of the disciples. All the sects will indifferently abide by this unspoken rule, and no one is exempted from it among the major sections. Tang Ao listened quietly, and his eyes flickered. After a while, he said, "So, the 7 Kill sect sees the 3 cities you marked as already in the bag." All of a sudden, Tang Ao's expression turned black because the limestone city he was in was a vassal of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect. Because his father wasn't in the limestone city to oversee the city lord's position, his Tang clan's business was slowly being nibbled away by the Qin clan. Qin Yueshuang even cheated him of his clan's heirloom, the Heaven's Mandate Stone. Now that Qin Yueshuang had joined the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect, the Qin family had also become a vassal of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect. Although the power of the city lord was still firmly held by the Tang family, it was not an exaggeration to say that Bluestone City had basically become a vassal of the Qin family. After all, most of the resources in Bluestone City were controlled by the Qin family. "Qin Yueshuang, what you took from me, Tang Ao, I will take back sooner or later." Tang Ao gritted his teeth and growled. The killing intent emitted from his body caused the 5th elder to involuntarily look sideways. "Then why didn't you choose the Bluestone City, where I was born? Let me go to Bluestone City. My Tang family has a deep foundation in Bluestone City. With my mediation, we will definitely be able to take down Bluestone City." Tang Ao growled unwillingly. His eyes were a little red. "Nonsense." Lin Zhang's expression suddenly changed. He was no longer as gentle as before. He gave Tang Ao a slap and angrily scolded, "Tang Ao, it wasn't easy for you to cultivate. Now that the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect has a firm grasp of Bluestone City, the entire Qin family also has a firm grasp of Bluestone City. You have the hidden jade and stone physique and are naturally talented. In another 2 years, you will definitely be stronger than that Qin Yueshuang. If you clash with the Qin family now, you will be courting death. Do you understand?" Tang Ao's gaze darkened, and his entire person became dispirited. The most painful thing in the world was love. Tang Ao was no exception. "Fine, I will endure. Whichever city you think is suitable for me to go, let me go there," Tang Ao said dispiritedly. The leader of the Water Pearl City, He Feng Yuan, has always been neutral. He only listens to the government. However, according to the news that we, the 7 Kill Martial School, have received in the secular world, although He Feng Yuan has reached the peak of the origin realm, he suffered a hidden injury in his early years, which caused his lifespan to end early. Therefore, recently, he wants to choose an excellent person from his children to inherit the position of the city leader. The 5th elder gritted his teeth. He wanted the Water Pearl City to become the training ground for Tang Ao. The Water Pearl City was the most complicated city among the Bright City and Xiong City. The city leader, He Yuan Feng, had reached the peak of the origin realm, which was a few levels higher than the city leaders of the Bright City and Xiong City. If it weren't for the hidden injury in his early years, which caused his lifespan to end early, He Yuan Feng, who was at the peak of the origin realm, might be able to break through the Sea of Souls realm and be promoted. As the saying goes, like father, like son. He Feng Yuan's children would definitely not be ordinary either. The city leader was a position that was passed down from generation to generation. Once the competition for the position of the city leader started, it would definitely be a bloody scene. Lin Jiang wanted to send Tang Ao to the Water Pearl City to train. Naturally, he had his own plans. Tang Ao was the disciple that he thought the most highly of. Although the Water Pearl City was a complicated place, Lin Jiang had his own plans. The most powerful skill of the city leader, He Feng Yuan, could be compared with the 7-kill martial school's 7-kill art. If Tang Ao could learn this skill and even keep it in the martial skill pavilion, it would be a great achievement for him. Chapter 78. Water Pearl City has a strong foundation. City Lord He Feng Yuan has been managing the city for many years. He has built the city well. Also, City Lord He Feng Yuan is very strong. Both of us are at the peak of the Origin Realm. Now that He Feng Yuan's life is coming to an end, his children will definitely fight for the position of City Lord. After you enter Water Pearl City, find a young master who is close to the 7-kill sect from He Feng Yuan's children and help him take the position. Then, the mission will be completed. After Lin Jiang finished, he took out a piece of bamboo paper from the cabinet and passed it to Tang Ao. He said seriously, "This is the information of all the children of the city, Lord He Feng Yuan. After you finish reading, you can go to the lower realm." "All right, when can you memorize the martial skills you chose from the martial skill pavilion?" "I have memorized them all. I can go now," Tang Ao said without thinking. His spirit power was very strong, so his memory was excellent. Tang Ao had already memorized the 3 martial skills he had picked from the martial skill pavilion last night. "Yes, you are indeed very talented. For this mission, I originally wanted to send an inner disciple down the mountain to complete it, but the water in Water Pearl City is very deep, and it is not something that can be solved by strength alone. You are very talented, and although you are very arrogant, you always leave room for negotiation. Therefore, for this trip to Water Pearl City, I still want to send you to complete it boldly." Lin Jiang looked at Tang Ao with a smile on his face. He was very satisfied with Tang Ao. "This mission is dangerous. Last time, I wanted to go to the primeval forest alone. You didn't even stop me. Only after I entered the primeval forest did I realize that I was at a disadvantage. Old man Lin Jiang, you should at least tell me what the reward is for this mission." Tang Ao's face darkened. He remembered the danger in the primeval forest and the time when he almost died. His heart was inexplicably angry. The reward is naturally very generous. Also, it was your own decision to enter the primeval forest. I didn't ask you to go. Lin Jiang couldn't help but blush. He coughed twice and said, "Now, I can give you half of the reward in advance." Tang Ao's eyes lit up. It seemed that Lin Jiang wanted to give him a taste of sweetness first. Lin Jiang took out a few things from his storage pouch, 2 bottles of pills and 2 secret manuals. Of these 2 bottles of pills, one is called the quenching body pill and the other is called the exploding pill. "Brat, you just got that iron steel sand from the martial arts pavilion yesterday. In just one night, you've already cultivated to the 4th level of the iron steel sand. There must be something wrong with this. Tell me the truth. What did you encounter in the primeval forest? How did your body advance so much?" Lin Jiang said with a smile. Tang Ao hesitated for a moment. In the end, he decided to tell her about how he had barged into the illusory, sound python's cave abode alone and discovered that the golden springs was extremely effective in tempering one's body. So that's how it is. This primeval forest steals the fortune of heaven and earth. There are dangers everywhere, but there are also opportunities everywhere. It's really destiny for you to be able to obtain these opportunities. Lin Jiang clicked his tongue in wonder after listening to Tang Ao's story. "I know about the quenching body pill, but what are these exploding pills?" Tang Ao asked back. "This explosion pellet is something that can heavily injure people in the Origin Realm. This pellet is extremely precious, and once it explodes, low-level Origin Realm martial artists will die on the spot. Even experts at the peak of the Origin Realm will be heavily injured. Even I fear this thing. In crucial moments, this pellet can save my life." Lin Jiang's wrinkled hands carefully touched the exploding pill for a while before putting it into Tang Ao's hands. "I see. So that means these exploding pills are really good stuff. Tang Ao's eyes lit up, and he quickly asked, "What about these two secret manuals?" "These two secret manuals are good stuff. One is a sword art, and the other is a finger art. The sword art can be said to be of the highest quality in the body refining realm, and the finger art is even more impressive. It is a high-rank Sea of Souls realm martial art. The sword art is called Ice Crystal Sword. When it attacks, it has an ice effect. If it is used with an Ice Law martial spirit or a sword martial spirit, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. The finger art is even more impressive. It is called Ancient Spirit Finger. Its single-target attack power is extremely strong. When it is trained to the peak, even Sea of Souls realm experts would be afraid of it." After Lin Jiang finished speaking, he patted Tang Ao's shoulder. "I've already given you special treatment. How far you could go will all depend on your luck. Thank you for your guidance, Fifth Elder." Tang Ao saw that Lin Jiang took out so many good things. Plus, ever since he joined the Seven Kill sect, Lin Jiang's attitude towards him was very good. So, Tang Ao put down his pride and respectfully bowed to Lin Jiang. Lin Jiang also seemed to be very satisfied with Tang Ao's attitude as he stroked his beard and smiled. The competition for the City Lord of the Water Pearl City has already started. Go down the mountain now and return early. In the following week, Tang Ao traveled day and night. During the day, he would use the mysterious valley legs to travel. He traveled at a speed of 100 miles per day towards the Water Pearl City. The mysterious valley legs was a movement martial skill, and at the same time, it was also a leg art. Once trained to the extreme, one would be able to travel 1,000 miles in a day. When attacking, the shadow of the leg would be endless. Although this martial skill was only used by people below the origin realm, it had both speed and attacking power. In the past week, Tang Ao had been using the mysterious valley legs. Tang Ao had also trained it to the entry level. At that moment, Tang Ao was proudly standing on top of a towering ancient tree. In his vision, there was a black dot mixed in the surrounding forest. Tang Ao poured his true energy into his eyes, and the black that in his vision immediately magnified by several times. This black shop was actually a city. After Tang Ao poured his true energy into his eyes, his vision was instantly strengthened. Therefore, he could see the city in the distance. The city in the distance was majestic and overbearing. It was incomparably grand. It was even twice the size of the bluestone city that Tang Ao was born in. In the information that old Lin Jiang gave me, he named the Water Pearl City as the #1 city in the East region. Now that I look at it, the City Lord of Water Pearl City is really good at governance. To be able to expand a city to such a scale, it is really not easy. Tang Ao gazed into the distance, and at that moment, many thoughts ran through his mind. Tang Ao's gaze locked onto the city gate in the distance. This city gate was like the bloody mouth of an ancient wild beast, swallowing countless carriages and pedestrians that entered. Tang Ao no longer hesitated. His figure moved, and he jumped down from the tree. Using the mysterious valley legs, he jumped 100 meters in a few breaths' time and flew towards the city gate. When he reached the city gate, Tang Ao stopped in his tracks. The guards of the city gate looked at Tang Ao and were instantly shocked. The aura that Tang Ao's body emitted was equivalent to the standard of the peak of the 4th tier of the body refining realm. This was the result of Tang Ao intentionally concealing his aura. Tang Ao was also shocked by the guards of the city gate. The 4 guards of the city gate had all reached the 4th tier of the body refining realm. If this was any other city, a martial artist at the 4th tier of the body refining realm would definitely be a guest in any family. But in Water Pearl City, a martial artist at the 4th tier of the body refining realm was actually being used as a guard. Chapter 79. After entering Waterbead City, Tang Ao slowed down his pace and wandered around the city. On the road, Tang Ao discovered many martial artists within the bustling crowd. Most of the martial artists had cultivations between the 4th and 5th level of the body refining realm, and there were even a few people who had cultivations in the origin realm. This is almost impossible in my limestone city. Could it be that the battle for the city lord has attracted so many martial artists? Tang Ao's heart sank. In Waterbead City, there was an endless stream of horses and carriages. The crowd was bustling. Occasionally, disciples wearing sect uniforms could be seen shuttling through the crowd. Tang Ao was wearing the uniform of the Seven Kills sect, which attracted many people's attention. Disciples from all the big sects in the East region can be found in Waterbead City. That is. Tang Ao stopped in his tracks and let out a sound of surprise. Not far away, the crowd was very dense. More than 1,000 people were surrounding an arena, pointing at it. Arena? Tang Ao was taken aback for a moment. Then, he quickly walked toward a place not far away. Tang Ao squeezed into the crowd. The situation on the arena was clear at a glance. A martial artist with a long saber life spirit and a martial artist with a long sword life spirit were facing each other. It seemed that they were ready to fight. The weapons in these two people's hands are materialized life spirits. It seems that their life spirits have been condensed to an extremely high level. Tang Ao smacked his lips and sighed inwardly. There were really many experts in Waterbead City. Please. The swordsman and the saberman on the arena cupped their hands. Then, the arena quieted down. No one wanted to make the first move. They were waiting for the other to attack first so that they could gain the upper hand. After a long while, the audience also felt that something was wrong. What's going on? Why haven't they made a move after so long? What's going on? Isn't it said that the city lord's son who wins the heaven and earth ring will become the city lord? These two people are standing still. What's going on? I think this competition for heirs is just an act. In fact, the next city lord has already been decided internally. These two are standing still, and someone will admit defeat soon. However, Tang Ao narrowed his eyes. The bladesman and swordsman on the stage were all at the peak of the body refining realm. In such a situation, no one could do anything to the other. It was not as simple as it looked. Brother, what's up with this arena? Tang Ao asked the young man beside him. You don't even know that the universe ring of Waterdrop City has been held for more than 3 months. All the top 10 warriors in the universe ring have the opportunity to join the city lord's mansion and get a salary. The young man glanced at Tang Ao with a contemptuous look, as if he was mocking Tang Ao's ignorance. This universe ring is also an arena set up by City Lord. He phoned you on for the next City Lord. In addition to recruiting talents, it is also a stage for the children to compete for the position of the next City Lord. Through the ranking in the arena, the children's ranking in choosing the business route will be evaluated. The higher the ranking on the universe ring, the higher the ranking of the descendants will be in choosing the trade route. The higher the ranking, the better the trade route they will choose. When the time comes, they will naturally be able to obtain the position of City Lord. I see. Tang Ao's expression turned cold, but he did not care about the rudeness of this passerby. He focused his attention on the arena. On the arena, the sabersman did not care about the various criticisms below the arena. His cold sweat was constantly dripping, and his forehead was wet. This sabersman was nearly 40 years old, and the swordsman opposite him was only a young man in his 30s. This made the sabersman feel very unbalanced. Although this swordsman was young, he was very calm and did not have the impulsiveness that people imagined. This swordsman was obviously also a combat veteran, and he did not look as high-spirited as he did on the surface. The sabersman could no longer remain calm. He lifted his saber and slashed at his opponent. This slash was ordinary, and it was just a probing move. The sabersman was only 40 years old, although his talent was not good, and he had only reached the peak of the body refining realm at 40 years old. He had rich combat experience. He knew that when fighting with warriors of the same level, it was very important to understand the opponent's moves. If he used his trump card at the beginning, then he would soon be defeated. When fighting with warriors of the same level, it was like two armies facing each other. It was very important to understand the opponent's moves, especially when their life spirits were about the same level. Tang Ao could see the caution of the sabersman, and he nodded his head in appreciation. Tang Ao often defeated the strong, and he knew the importance of tactics in battle. If he did not use his brain to fight, he would soon be defeated. The bladesman swung his saber probingly, but he was soon disappointed. When the swordsman faced this plain move, he also swung his sword in an ordinary manner. The saber and sword clanged. Then, the swordsman's next move made the bladesman very depressed. After the swordsman casually blocked the saber strike of the bladesman, he chopped out with his sword. This sword strike was also a probing strike. It was extremely ordinary, and it was no different from the saber strike that the bladesman had just executed. The sabersman cursed, but he did not dare to be careless. After blocking the sword with his saber, he slashed at the swordsman's wrist. The swordsman did not dare to underestimate the sabersman. If this saber really hit him, he was afraid that his wrist would be cut off. He immediately dodged to the side and blocked the saber that slashed at him. The two of them exchanged blows like this, and they exchanged more than 100 moves. The crowd below the stage also felt bored to death. The sabersman could not help but feel ashamed. This swordsman was only 30 years old, 10 years younger than him. However, his strength was at the same level as him, and his battle experience was also comparable. After more than 300 moves, as the two of them exchanged blows, they gradually figured out each other's moves. The battle became more and more intense, from the initial release of low-level martial skills to the eruption of high-level martial skills. They even used Zhun Qi in the process of the battle. The eyes of the audience on the stage lit up, their attention became focused, and they began to watch attentively. When it came to the use of high-level martial skills, the swordsman gradually gained an advantage. The swordsman's high-level martial skills were obviously a level higher than the sabersman's martial skills. Moreover, he was very proficient in it. It was like an antelope's horn, unconstrained and untraceable. The swordsman's battle experience was not inferior to the sabersman's, and his martial skills were also a level higher than the sabersman's. The sabersman quickly lost ground. For every 3 sword strikes from the swordsman, the sabersman had to use 4 sabers to block. The sabersman quickly became breathless, and it was obvious that he was not a match for the swordsman. Heaven wheels sword. The swordsman let out a shout, and the long sword-life spirit in his hand released a cyan sword light. The originally tricky and sharp sword moves suddenly became big and wide. In a few moments, the sabersman was forced into a corner by the swordsman. The outcome was decided. Chapter 80. At this time, Tang Ao's gaze fell on the viewing platform behind the arena. On the viewing platform, there were more than 10 young people sitting, and there were also a few people who seemed to be servants standing respectfully next to them. Are these young people the heirs of the city lord, He Feng Yuan? Tang Ao whispered to himself. That's right. In order to strengthen his power, the city lord, He Feng Yuan, married many women from big sects or big families. So basically, every one of the heirs of the city lord has the shadow of a big family behind them. The young man beside Tang Ao echoed. What's so special about each of the heirs? Tang Ao asked the young man beside him. In the battle for the city lord position, the most promising heirs are the eldest young master He Yuanzi, the 9th young master He Yuanshao, and the 13th young master He Yuani. The young man seemed to be very familiar with these gossips, and his eyebrows danced as he spoke. Do these young masters have the background of other sects or families? Tang Ao asked in confusion. Basically, but the power behind He Yuanzi is Bright City's Su family. He Yuanshao is supported by the Heavenly Moon sect, and the 13th young master He Yuani is supported by the Heavenly Star Sacred sect. Although the other heirs have their own background, compared to these 3, they're a few levels lower. The young man spoke with fervor and assurance. May I ask for your name? Tang Ao cupped his hands towards the young man beside him. I don't dare. I am Lei Liang, one of the best wind agents in Water Pearl City. Lei Liang cupped his hands and returned the greeting. So he was a wind agent who specialized in gathering information. Tang Ao's heart trembled, and he asked, among the heirs of the city lord of Water Pearl City, there are no children whose mothers are from a poor family? Lei Liang was surprised. He didn't expect Tang Ao to ask such a strange question, but he still answered. there are. For example, He Fengyuan's 17th son, He Lin, is the son of He Fengyuan and a servant girl after he was drunk. There are no other children. That's him. Tang Ao's eyes lit up. You've actually cultivated this top-notch martial skill to the acme of perfection. At this moment, an incredulous voice came from the platform. The bladesman on the platform was forced back step by step. Clearly, he was no longer a match for Xiao Chun. He let out a cry of surprise. As the bladesman on the stage retreated in defeat, thoughts raced through his mind. He had been practicing his saber techniques for decades, and the life souls he had awakened were all related to the saber. He had a very high understanding of the saber, but in terms of perception, this bladesman had poor aptitude. He had been practicing high-grade saber techniques for more than several years, but he had only reached the proficient realm of his saber techniques. He was still a distance away from the acme of perfection. The swordsman was also very excited. He was fighting with the swordsman, a sly old fox in his 40s, and not only was he not at a disadvantage, he even showed signs of winning. How could the swordsman not be happy? This old swordsman could casually leave behind a trap with a raise of his hand, but the swordsman used his rich experience to resolve the traps one by one, causing the swordsman's blood to boil. The swordsman gradually grasped the rhythm of the battle. He was practically chasing after the bladesman, causing the latter to retreat. However, the swordsman did not dare to chase too fiercely, in case he was careless and fell into the old bladesman's trap. In the spectator stand on the arena, 16th brother, the bladesman you recruited is a little too old. It is fine that he is old, but his martial skills do not seem to be very good. He Yuanzi looked at He Yuanzhang, who was sitting at the side, and let out a frivolous smile. He Yuanzhang's face was ashen. His mother was the second daughter of a second-rate clan in Enlu City. She was definitely not as good as He Yuanzi's Su clan. Thus, the martial artist she found could only be this old bladesman in his 40s. Victory and defeat have not been decided. There is no point in saying anything now. He Yuanzhang retorted, unconvinced. Although the old bladesman was continuously retreating, he still had a glimmer of hope for the old bladesman. He Yuanzhang thought of his mother's request. This old bladesman was one of the top experts in his mother's clan. He had rich combat experience and would definitely be able to obtain a good name for himself. You are really stubborn. He Yuanzi laughed disdainfully. If this old man can defeat the swordsman of my Su clan, I, He Yuanzi, can even carry your shoes in the future. Ha ha! Hearing He Yuanzi's frivolous laughter, He Yuanzhang's face turned even more ashen. On the viewing platform, the other heirs sneered in disdain at He Yuanzhang's unwillingness. Everyone took joy in He Yuanzhang's misfortune when they saw He Yuanzhang's defeat. Only the 17th son, He Lin, remained silent. He looked at He Yuanzhang, whose face was so dark that water could be seen, with sympathy. In the arena, the exchange between the bladesman and the swordsman had already reached its peak. The audience below the arena was mesmerized. Everyone was immersed in it and did not even dare to exclaim. Everyone's breathing was very rapid. Most of the people present were martial artists at the 3rd or 4th tier of the body refining realm. This realm was already the most common realm in the black-yellow continent. Facing the battle between the martial artists at the pinnacle of the body refining realm, they were also confused. They only felt that the battle between the two was like dancing on the tip of a knife. It was too much for their eyes to take in. In the arena, sword chi crisscrossed and saber lights appeared. The saber lights were obviously much more than the sword chi. However, this did not mean that the bladesman would win for sure. The bladesman was obviously at a disadvantage. He had no choice but to wield more saber lights to block the swordsman's sword moves. Tang Ao shook his head. The general situation had been decided. The bladesman was going to lose without any surprises. The swordsman's figure was like a ghost. He brandished his sword in an orderly manner. The bladesman was also tired of dealing with it. His physical strength was depleting rapidly. The speed at which he brandished his saber became slower and slower. It was obvious that he was exhausted. The bladesman brandished his saber slower and slower. In the end, he was already sweating profusely. He could not keep up with the speed of the swordsman's sword. Before long, he would definitely be defeated on the spot. 16th brother now. Do you have anything else to say? He Yuanzi looked at the ashen-faced He Yuanzhang and asked proudly. Humph. The cultivator you raise is really despicable. He actually wants to wait for my bladesman to exhaust himself before defeating him. If he is capable, then let the two of them fight head-on, He Yuanzhang retorted, feeling unconvinced. TSK. The winner takes all. A loss is a loss. What is there to be embarrassed about? Ha. He Yuanzi saw that the swordsman raised by his family was about to win. He immediately laughed out loud. The swordsman and the bladesman exchanged more than 1,000 moves. The bladesman finally could not hold on anymore. However, he remembered his wife's instructions. He gritted his teeth and persevered. Even if he was defeated, he had to do his best. He had to exhaust this swordsman as much as he could and contribute to the upcoming battle. After being suppressed by the swordsman for a long time, the bladesman had exhausted even more of his physical strength. Even though the bladesman had experienced hundreds of battles, he was starting to panic at this moment. Chapter 81. In the face of the swordsman's tide-like attacks, the swordsman, who was already exhausted, could not help but panic. The swordsman was busy defending. Because of his exhaustion, his movements were not precise. With a swoosh, the swordsman's pupils shrank. He glanced at the corner of his clothes and found that the swordsman's sword had cut a hole in it. He's going to lose. The swordsman is going to win. Look at the swordsman's panicked movements. He's obviously going to lose. Alas, what a pity. I thought that the 16th young master, He Yuanzhang's men, could shine and get a good result in the City Lord competition. It seems that he is just SOSO. Tang Ao looked at the excited faces of the people around him. His task this time was to support a son who was close to the 7 Kills sect. Whether the 16th young master, He Yuanzhang, was defeated or not had nothing to do with him. However, Tang Ao gradually understood what was going on in the Universe Ring of Waterbead City. The Universe Ring was a ring set up by the city governor, He Fengyuan, to recruit his subordinates. Now, it was a stage for the heirs to compete for the trade routes. As for what this trade route was all about, Tang Ao was also confused. Immediately, he asked Lei Liang, who was the wind middleman beside him. Brother Lei, if He Lin, the 17th son of He Fengyuan, wins the first place in the Universe Ring, how will the business route be distributed? Tang Ao asked. Lei Liang was stunned for a moment. Then he thought for a moment and said, if He Lin wins the first place in the Universe Ring, he can choose the most prosperous business route. This is a trade route that leads to the Central Region. The Central Region is the most prosperous and fertile region in the Black-Yellow continent, where heroes from all over the world gather. Waterdrop City has been operating for many years and has already opened up a trade route here. If we can get this trade route, the position of the City Lord will be in the bag. However, He Lin is the son of a servant girl. He is the most classic concubine son. Moreover, he has the weakest background among all the concubine's sons. How can he win the City Lord's position? Tang Ao sneered and thought, if I let He Lin win the City Lord's position, he will definitely win the City Lord's position. On the ring, the sabresman's momentum was getting weaker and weaker. He was gradually forced into a trap by the swordsman. I admit defeat. The sabresman sighed helplessly and immediately admitted defeat. The swordsman's originally resolute face immediately darkened as he admitted defeat. He had roamed the martial world for decades, but he had lost to a junior who was more than 10 years younger than him. This in itself was a great blow to him. Moreover, he had failed to live up to the trust of Shirlu, He Yuanzhang's mother. Haha, old 16, the winner has been decided. Hand over the token. When He Yuanzi saw that his subordinate had won, his face was filled with pride. He stretched out his hand, looking as if he was begging for it. He Yuanzhang's complexion was ashen. He reluctantly looked at the token in his hand. In the end, he clenched his teeth. After all, the winner takes all. He threw the token to He Yuanzi. He Yuanzi casually reached out and took the token. He Yuanzhang sat down helplessly, his body limp and his face pale. He Yuanzhang knew that the position of city lord was completely out of his reach. This old swordsman was the strongest elite sent by his mother's family, yet he could not even defeat He Yuan's weakest subordinate. His heart was filled with unwillingness, but he could only grit his teeth and endure this unwillingness. Damn it! He Yuanzi obtained another token. The ninth young master, He Yuanshao, had a gloomy expression on his face. The other young masters of the He clan all had ugly expressions on their faces. The tokens represented the right to choose the trade route. The more tokens one had, the more points one would have. Now that the eldest young master, He Yuanzi, had defeated the 16th young master, He Yuanzhang, he now had an additional token in his hand. This made the other young masters envious. 13th young master, He Yuanjun, rolled his eyes and glanced at 17th young master, He Lin, vaguely. His gaze was immediately replaced by greed. He Yuanjun couldn't hold back the greed in his heart and said, 17th young master, now that everyone's subordinates have more or less competed, it's time for you to show off your subordinates, isn't it? He Yuanjun's words were filled with frivolity. He looked at He Lin with a fiery gaze and licked his lips pervertedly. Who is the one who spoke now? Tang Ao asked Lei Guang, who was beside him, in a puzzled tone. He stared at the platform without blinking. After He Yuanjun said this, a weak young man on the platform lowered his head in fear and looked at He Yuanjun timidly. That timid young man must be his target, He Lin. Tang Ao's heart immediately calmed down. This person is He Fengyuan's 13th son. His name is He Yuanjun. The force behind him is Heartless Clan, ranked 11th in the East region. This person's personality is very dark, and he has a penchant for men, Lei Liang said as he stared at He Yuanjun on the platform with disdain. The 17th young master he mentioned, is he that timid young man? Tang Ao asked. At the same time, he took in the subtle relationship between the young masters on the platform. That's right. He is He Fengyuan's 17th son. He Lin, Lei Liang nodded. Tang Ao squinted his eyes. He Lin on the platform looked gentle, like a scholar. At that moment, under the coercion of the arrogant He Yuanjun, he looked like a young man who was bullied by his family. After a moment of silence, He Lin finally spoke under everyone's gaze. I won't fight for the position of master of city with you brothers. As long as I can live a comfortable life, I'll be satisfied, He Lin said weakly. As soon as he said that, the other brothers nodded in satisfaction. He Lin's martial arts talent was average, and he was born of a servant girl. His mother's side didn't have any background, so he wasn't competitive at all. To them, he was a threat. Since you don't have any thoughts about the position of master of city, why don't you give me the token in your hand and let me do you a favor? He Yuanjun squinted his eyes and looked at He Lin as if he was a prey. I heard that the 13th son, He Yuanjun, has a penchant for men. Look at his perverted eyes. He doesn't even let his own brother go. Lei Liang shook his head. He was also confused about such things that normal people couldn't understand. Tang Ao didn't answer Lei Liang. Instead, he focused on watching the changes on the platform. As soon as He Yuanjun asked He Lin for the token, the other young masters around her immediately reacted, and their reactions were very intense. He Yuanjun, don't be shameless. You have the cheek to ask for the token. You are ignoring the rules of the Ring of Heaven and Earth. The 11th young master, He Yuanyi, was furious. He immediately jumped out and spoke for He Lin. Chapter 82. Hypocritical. This kind of family infighting is really hypocritical. Tang Ao looked at He Yuanyi's half-baked acting on the viewing platform and sighed helplessly. Fortunately, Tang Ao was glad that He Lin was still a person with a healthy IQ. Seeing He Yuanyi speak up for him, He Lin did not show any expression of gratitude. Instead, he held the token tightly in his hand. He Yuanyi pretended to be righteous on the surface, but in fact, he had ulterior motives like the other young masters. If the token was given to He Yuanyi for free, then they might as well give up on the battle for the Lord of the Castellan. Rules? Fine. You dare to talk about rules with me. Then let me ask you, Old 17 is not sending his warriors to fight. nor is he willing to hand over the token. What kind of rules are these? He retorted sarcastically. The He family is really in a mess. Everyone below the stage narrowed their eyes as they watched the show unfold before them. On the viewing platform, the scene of He bullying He Lin was seen by everyone. This kind of family infighting was not usually seen in Waterdrop City. It was the same even in other places. It was rare to see brothers fighting openly and covertly, even shedding all pretense of cordiality. The eldest son, Yuanza, was the eldest son of the first wife. He was the oldest and had a deep foundation in Waterdrop City. Therefore, the warriors under him were all elites. It could be said that he was the most competitive candidate for the Lord of the Castellan. However, his mother was from the Su family of Ming City. Her background was slightly weaker than Yuanchao, and Yuanyi, but it was not something that the other children could compare with. The ninth son, Yuanchao's mother, was from the Tianyue sect. His mother was once an inner disciple of the Tianyue sect. No one knew how dissolute He Fengyuan was in the past, but he managed to pick up so many beauties from good backgrounds. Not only did he gain face, but he also earned a lot. However, the 11th son, Yuanyi, caught Tang Ao's attention. Because his mother was from the celestial sacred sect, Tang Ao suddenly thought of Qin Yueshuang. He suddenly felt irritated and asked Lei Liang. Yuanyi's mother was from the celestial sacred sect. I'm afraid she's the strongest candidate for the Lord of the Castellan besides Yuanza? Lei Liang nodded and said, That's right. Yuanyi's mother was not only from the celestial sacred sect, but she was also an outer elder of the celestial sacred sect. I don't know how Yuanyi's mother got him. After giving birth, she returned to the sect to cultivate and did not stay in Waterdrop City. After a pause, Lei Liang said, Yuanchao's character is wild and unruly. He is vicious and merciless. His character is a bit dark. It might be related to the Tianyue sect's techniques, but Yuanyi is the exact opposite. He is cheerful and open-minded and loves to make friends. That's why he has the most warriors under him besides Yuanza. His mother was also from the celestial sacred sect, so she has the strongest backing among the many sons. That's why Yuanyi is a popular candidate for the Lord of the Castellan. Tang Ao became silent. There was no need to say more about Yuanjun. With one look, it was obvious that this person was a pervert. Not only did he like men, but he also had perverted feelings for his own brother. If this kind of person was in the wild, Tang Ao would have already eradicated him. On the viewing platform, seeing Yuanyi jump out to speak to Lin, Yuanjuan's face immediately darkened. He said mockingly, Yuanyi, you are the one who suggested this universe ring token. Now, Lin is not sending his men to fight and is not willing to hand over the token. If this isn't disobeying the rules, then what is? If an ordinary Waterdrop City martial artist saw Yuanjuan's expression, he would definitely be scared out of his wits. However, Yuanyi's face did not change at all. He just said lightly, rules are rules, but we are blood brothers. If Father saw us fighting like this over a token, he would definitely be very disappointed. The veins on Yuanjuan's forehead jumped twice, but he did not explode in the end. He snorted coldly and sat back in his seat. Brother 17, give me your token. Haven't you always wanted to have your own shop in Waterdrop City? As long as you entrust the token to me, I will immediately take out my savings from all these years and open the biggest restaurant in Waterdrop City for you. Yuanyi said kindly. His words were like a spring breeze. In the battle for the master of the city, if one felt that he was not strong enough, then he would obediently hand over the token and choose a side, becoming someone else's subordinate. When his own team obtained the final victory, he would be able to obtain enough benefits and also protect his own life. It was not a bad choice. At least, among He Fengyuan's 17 sons, 3 had already done so. Among them, these 3 sons had respectively attached themselves to Yuanza, Yuanchao, and Yuanyi. Only Yuanjun did not have anyone attach himself to him. This made Yuanjun very nervous. In terms of strength, Yuanjun did not have as many masters as them. In terms of background, He Yuanjuan's background was only the heartless sect, which was ranked 11th in the Eastern Domain. It could not be compared to them. Therefore, he did not receive the support of his swinging sons. This was also reasonable. Now that He Yuanjun had failed to ask He Lin for the token, He Yuani jumped out to tempt him. How could He Yuanjun accept this? If He Lin were to obediently hand over the token to He Yuani, then He Yuanjun would not have to continue fighting for the position of the city master. 17th brother, in today's battle, you must send out your men to fight. You have been spoiled since you were young, and your father doted on you. However, this heaven and earth ring is not a place for you to play house. Therefore, today, you have to fight even if you don't want to. He Yuanjun did not let He Lin go so easily. He clenched his teeth and pressed forward. That's right, young Master He Lin. Your men look tall and strong. Don't tell me he is just an embroidered pillow. The martial artist beside He Yuanjun also chimed in. Who knows, maybe when your martial artists enter the ring, they will be able to turn us upside down in a few moves. Ha! The warriors under He Progenitor's command were talking one after another, inciting He Lin with provocative methods. Below the ring, the spectators saw the scene on the viewing platform. They were all gloating and had an expression as if they were watching a good show. Only Tang Ao stood where he was and secretly shook his head. This group of martial artists' words could be said to be filthy. They had already lost the martial ethics that a martial artist should have. On the viewing platform, the other heirs were all silent. Although He Lin was the youngest brother among them, no one stood out to speak for him. The position of the city lord was bound to be bloody, and their sympathy would not overflow. Chapter 83. Young master, let me fight. We can't let them humiliate us like this, said a cultivator beside He Lin. His name was Ada, and he had accompanied He Lin since he was young. His strength had reached the pinnacle of the body refining realm, and he was He Lin's only worthy martial artist at the moment. However, although Ada was at the peak of the body refining realm, he did not have much battle experience. The martial skills he learned were also pitifully few. He Lin did not grow up in Waterdrop City. The He family's foundation was built in Waterdrop City, so the scripture depository and martial skill building were also hidden in Waterdrop City. He Lin did not grow up in a He family. He grew up in a small town with his mother. This was the most typical life of an illegitimate child, so he definitely did not have access to any powerful martial arts. Ada also relied on an inner force technique he had obtained by chance when he was young and cultivated step by step until now. A low-level inner force method had allowed Ada to reach the peak of the body refining realm. This meant that Ada's talent was not bad. It was a pity that Ada had followed He Lin, but Ada had not complained at all in all these years. He had always stayed by He Lin's side silently, but the resources he received were pitifully small. He Lin only had a few maidservants, an old man in his 80s, and Ada. There were only 7 of them in total. Compared to the other heirs, his group was pitifully weak. For example, He Yuanza, the strongest of them all, had over 100 cultivators by his side, which formed a stark contrast. The maids were even weaker. They did not even have the ability to fight. Tang Ao shook his head. Tang Ao could see that the martial artist who was over 80 years old next to He Lin had the cultivation of the low level of the origin realm. But sadly, he was too old and his chi and blood were declining. The path of the martial path was like rowing a boat against the current, and that old man could probably only display 20 to 30% of his peak strength. Tang Ao's eyes sparkled. He was ready to make a move. He began to consider whether he should fight or not. No, they're purposely provoking you to fight. Weapons are blind in the ring of heaven and earth. I can't let you die for nothing. So what if you win one round? They have a lot of subordinates. We won't be able to fight them one after another, He Lin said anxiously. He hurriedly moved to the side to stop Ada, who was about to charge out. No, how can I just watch as they humiliate my young master? Ada said with bloodshot eyes, but He Lin blocked him firmly. He was afraid that he would injure He Lin if he charged out, so he could only endure his fury. The old man next to He Lin tightly clenched his teeth. The old man already remembered He Yuanjuan's humiliation in his heart. When he was young, the old man was also an origin realm expert who could shake the heavens and earth. At that moment, he was treated like that. The old man could only sigh that he was too old. If he was a bit younger, he would certainly make He Yuanjun pay the price. The young masters of the He clan lined up in a row on the viewing platform. As the eldest son, He Yuanza sat in the center. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he saw the commotion on He Lin's side. He Yuanza had also miscalculated in this battle for the position of City Lord. Based on his own strength, the situation that should have been in the bag had changed. This change was due to the issue of the children's alignment. Although He Yuanza had already gained the allegiance of the 8th young master He Yuanshu and obtained He Yuanshu's command token, the 9th young master He Yuanshao and the 11th young master He Yuani had also each obtained a command token, and they were now standing as equals. This was beyond He Yuanza's expectations. He originally thought that the battle in the universe arena this time would be completely one-sided. Yet in the end, it was a situation where both sides were evenly matched. The other heirs were all hesitant and wavering. They were hesitating about who they should give their command tokens to, and who could obtain the position of City Lord so that they could protect their lives of luxury. 17th brother, the path of martial arts is like rowing a boat against the current. If a cultivator doesn't even have the courage to fight, then what's the point of talking about martial arts? They're just people who are afraid of death. He Yuanjuan's eyes lit up when he saw that he provoked Ada into anger. The words that came out of his mouth became even more vicious. That's right. If they're so afraid of death, then what's the point of talking about martial arts? Truly trash. They don't even have the courage to fight. They're so tall and strong, but when it's time to fight, they're so timid. Like servant, like master. The warriors of He progenitors sighed, immediately began to mock them. For a moment, the shouts shook the heavens and the earth. The maidservants beside He Lin were all red in the face. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. As for the elder beside He Lin, he gripped the armrest tightly, suppressing the anger in his heart. Damn it! Isn't it just a battle? Ada will fight with you. Ada couldn't take it anymore. He pushed He Lin away and jumped onto the universe arena. The aura of the peak of the body refining realm exploded from his body, making everyone look at him. No. He Lin was pushed to the ground by the angry Ada. He extended his hand and grabbed at the sky weakly, but he couldn't grab anything. Ha, good. Zhou Ji, you have to win this battle. He Yuanjun saw that his provocation had succeeded and immediately said happily. A strong man beside He Yuanjun heard this and immediately bowed. His body moved, and with a few leaps, he jumped onto the universe arena. Old 13, you've really gone too far. He Yuani saw that Ada had fallen for the provocation and immediately couldn't take it anymore. If Ada lost to Zhou Ji, then He Lin's token would definitely be in He Yuani's hands. This Zhou Ji had the cultivation of the peak of the body, refining realm. His personality was also a bit abnormal. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become He Yuanjuan's subordinate. Usually, Zhou Ji didn't get close to women and focused on martial arts. On the surface, he looked like a very normal cultivator, but in reality, no one knew what he was doing in the dark. Zhou Ji's abnormality was that he liked to kill boys. He often used the salary he got from the universe arena to buy some orphans to enjoy. He loved the feeling of slowly torturing these orphans to death. It could be said that He Yuanjuan's subordinates all had some perverted hobbies. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been willing to be ordered around by He Yuanjun. The other young masters were also quite critical of He Yuanjuan's actions. Once Zhou Ji was on the challenge ring, he would definitely be very ruthless. Because He Lin was just a little boy, Zhou Ji would definitely let He Lin watch helplessly as his underling was slowly tortured to death. What? Old 17's warrior automatically jumped onto the universe arena. Once on the universe arena, life or death is up to fate. I didn't break the rules, He Yuanjun said with a cold smile. He Yuanjun said with a cold smile. He looked at He Yuani with a murderous look. He Yuani always spoke up against him. Hiyuani was not a broad-minded person. Moreover, Hiyuani was his competitor. Just as he was about to explode, a calm voice suddenly sounded. "Little 13, you've really gone too far." Chapter 84. Hiyuanza's words immediately made Hiyuanjun restrain herself a little. Hiyuanza was not warning Hiyuanjun. This sentence seemed ordinary, but it was actually a warning. Being defeated by Hilin meant that Hiyuanjun would have an additional token in her hand. But were the other young masters blind? Especially for Hiyuanza, who had the city lord's position in his grasp. He would definitely not allow a token to fall into Hiyuanjun's hands. All the heirs present did not expect Hiyuanjun to be so shameless. He actually made things difficult for the weakest, Hilin. It was fine if it was a factional struggle in the family meeting hall, but the universe ring was full of people today. However, now that Zhou and Ada had jumped onto the heaven and earth ring, there was no turning back now. Hiyuani's expression was very ugly, and the ninth young master, Hiyuan Chao's expression was also very gloomy. Only the eldest young master, Hiyuanza's expression was very calm. To Hiyuanza, one more or one less token did not seem to make much of a difference. 17th young master, Hilin's subordinate, Ada cupped his hands. However, what Ada did not expect was that Zhou did not give him any face at all. According to common sense, when two warriors fought in the ring, they should at least cup their hands and salute each other. However, at this time, Zhou said, "All right, don't do these superficial formalities. Just quickly finish the fight and hand over the token. What's the point of all this?" As soon as he finished speaking, "I'll kill you." Otto was instantly enraged. 3 life spirits appeared at the same time. These 3 life spirits were all saber-type life spirits. The most powerful one among them was equivalent to the height of the 13 heavens of the vast thousand world. The 3 treasured sabers hanging in the air suddenly condensed and merged into one. Ada held it in his hand. With boundless anger, Ada slashed at Zhou. Zhou's expression changed drastically. He had never thought that Ada's fate spirit would be so powerful. He had underestimated it. Although Ada's cultivation resources were limited and he did not have the chance to obtain high-class martial skills, anyone could enter the Great Thousand World. The fate spirit was a cultivator's talent. He had never thought that he would underestimate the strength of Ada's fate spirit. Zhou hurriedly took out his own life spirit. Zhou's life spirit was 3 treasured swords. It was obvious that he was a swordsman. He also had 3 life spirits. This was probably the limit of a martial artist at the pinnacle of the body refining realm. Unless he was an absolute genius, there was no exception. It's another duel between a swordsman and a bladesman. But this time, it will be very exciting. That's right. That competition just now was really too boring. Now we're watching an internal strife of the family. And then there's a life and death battle. Delightful. This feels great. He risked his life right from the start. This 13th young master, Hiyuanjun, has gone too far. His first move was a killing move. If it were me, I would also be angry. This Hiyuanjun is really not a good person. Isn't that so? Tang Ao squinted his eyes and looked at the 2 people who were constantly fighting on the stage. He thought that it would be fine as long as there were changes. If Ada's strength was not good enough, he would not sit and wait for death. After all, among the descendants of the whole Waterdrop City, only Hilin was not labeled as a faction. Ada's broadsword revealed his murderous intent. The bladesmanship that he displayed was the most basic chopper bladesmanship. However, this chopper bladesmanship was more than just superb by Ada. It simply broke away from the shackles of the original basic martial arts and reached an extraordinary realm. Zhou did not walk out of the initial panic. Once he made a move, he was flustered. Fortunately, the sword technique that Zhou had mastered was a high-level sword technique, and he had also practiced it to the acme of perfection. After a few dozen moves in a hurry, he gradually stabilized his footing. Don't look down on these few dozen moves. Under Ada's anger, These dozens of moves made Zhou Ji retreat more than 10 feet. Moreover, Zhou Ji was flustered. When he hurriedly received the moves, he was in a sorry state. This was seen by the people below the stage. This was like a slap on Zhou Ji and He Yuanjun's face. The warriors under He Yuanjun also had ugly expressions. They were the ones who had been the most aggressive at the beginning, especially Zhou Ji. He did not even give a perfunctory salute. Now that he was in such a sorry state, he had lost all his face. The people below the stage immediately boiled up and cheered. Tang Ao's eyes were also a little blurred. This Ada was loyal to his master, and his attainments and fate spirits were extraordinary. He must be a person with a firm mind. Otherwise, he would not have obtained the 13 heavens fate spirits of the great thousand world. Moreover, the 3 fate spirits were all in harmony with each other to an extremely high realm. Thinking back to the time when Tang Ao's body had collapsed for the green lotus sword spirit, it seemed that this Ada must be a person with great perseverance. Is this really a basic blade technique? Lei Liang, who was beside Tang Ao, said in disbelief. To be able to cultivate a basic hatchet blade technique to such a realm, this person's comprehension is also extremely high. If he has enough resources and power, he will definitely have great achievements in the future. Tang Ao looked at the figure on the stage that did not want to admit defeat and nodded his head inwardly. Everyone below the stage had a solemn expression as they focused on the movements of the 2 people on the stage. They did not think that the subordinates of a poor young master would have such powerful strength. A basic blade technique could actually be played to an extraordinary realm. Even Tang Ao was a little surprised. One could imagine what the others were thinking at this moment. On the other hand, although Zhou Ji had a high-grade sword technique, he was very inexperienced when practicing it. He was suppressed by a basic blade technique, and it could be said that he had lost all his face. Zhou Ji also realized that he was ridiculously wrong. When the 3 life spirit blades merged, it was comparable to the power of the 15th or even the 16th layer of heaven in the big thousand world. Every time the blade and sword collided, there would be a copious amount of power, which made Zhou Ji very uncomfortable. After that, although Zhou Ji used the power of a high-grade sword technique to stabilize himself, he was still suppressed by Ada's every move. Step by step, he was forced to the edge of the stage. Right at this moment, He Yuanjuan's eyes changed. She gave a look to the warrior next to her. The warrior immediately understood and jumped down from the ring like a rock spreading its wings. In a split second, he demonstrated an extremely high level of lightness. "Young hero, be careful." Everyone immediately let out a cry of surprise. This He Yuanjun was actually so despicable. He had completely forgotten the rules of the universe ring. The corner of Tang Ao's mouth curled into a cold smile. His legs suddenly turned into a ball of shadow, and he suddenly kicked a stone under his feet. Mystic Valley Kick. The stone contained the power of 1,000 kilograms. With a speed that was difficult to detect with the naked eye, it turned into a tiny shadow and flew towards the person who had jumped off the stage. Chapter 85. Ada obviously couldn't see the warrior who jumped out from the air with his back facing him. However, he also realized that something was wrong when he heard the exclamations below the ring. "Damn it, He Yuanjun is an idiot. I just stabilized my position. I could totally take him down with high-rank martial arts." Zhou Ji's expression changed greatly. If He Yuanjun didn't care about the rules of the ring, then it would be bad. In for a penny, in for a pound. Since that idiot He Yuanjun has completely torn off his mask of hypocrisy, I might as well just kill him. Viciousness flashed through Zhou Ji's eyes. The true qi in his body was continuously channeling into his life spirit. "You dare to use your life spirit to fight me?" Ada was stunned. Although Zhou Ji was forced into a corner of the ring, Ada's moves had also fallen into Zhou Ji's trap. Zhou Ji could clearly use his moves to turn the situation around, but he suddenly channeled true qi into his life spirit. It was obvious that he wanted to use a powerful attack to take down Ada instantly. Ada had no choice but to channel all of his true qi into his long saber. He chopped down at Zhou Ji with the momentum of a mountain-splitting saber technique. Oh! Seeing that Ada was tricked, everyone immediately cried out. Some of the female disciples immediately covered their eyes, afraid that they would see Ada's corpse on the spot. The warrior who jumped down from the air and was about to sneak attack, Ade smiled viciously. It seemed that his sneak attack was going to succeed. On the viewing platform, all the young master's expressions were sullen. Was he Yuanjun crazy? He didn't care about the rules of the universe ring. What did he want? Was he looking down on them? Or was he looking down on his father, He Feng Yuan? It should be known that although He Feng Yuan was old and bedridden, everything that happened in Dewdrop City would reach He Feng Yuan's ears through various channels. Everything that He Yuanjun did in the universe ring today would be known by He Feng Yuan. Seeing that all the brothers had turned their heads to look at her, He Yuanjun only sneered and thought to herself, "So what if that old man knows? As long as I get the token, Waterdrop City will be mine." The warrior in the air flew down at an extremely fast speed. The evil smile at the corner of He Yuanjun's mouth became even wider, as if the token in He Lin's hand was already in his pocket. Just as the sneak attacker was about to succeed, there was the sound of breaking air. The stone that Tang Ao had kicked had arrived in front of the sneak attacker's face in the blink of an eye. Pa! The warrior only felt a tremendous force. His body bounced back in the air and was directly knocked out of the universe ring by this tremendous force. With a bang, he fell on the ground below the ring. His face was dripping with blood, and he instantly stopped breathing. Boom! At the same time, Zhou Ji and Adi used all their genuine qi to perform extreme technique. The two swords collided. Because there was no sneak attacker to stop them, an overbearing sword qi poured onto Zhou Ji's body. Zhou Ji's body was instantly pierced by the sword qi. He spat out a mist of blood and flew backward. Who is it? He Yuanjun immediately stood up. He used his disdainful eyes to look at the warriors below the ring, but it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. He couldn't find Tang Ao's figure no matter how hard he tried. He Yuanjun, that's enough. He Yuani also stood up. He Yuanjun, do you think that Waterdrop City belongs to you alone? He Yuanchao also stood up and pointed angrily at He Yuanjun. A cold and gloomy gaze locked onto He Yuanjun. The source of this gaze was He Yuanza. He Yuanza was not as impulsive as the other three, but his gaze was also filled with dissatisfaction. Go, kill Ada. He Yuanjun ignored everyone's gaze. He waved his hand, and more than 10 warriors immediately poured forward. Go, protect Ada. He Yuani waved his hand. This was the perfect time for He Yuani to show off the powerful strength of the Celestial Star Sacred Clan. If he just watched He Yuanjun act like a tyrant here, his prestige in the hearts of the people of Waterdrop City would definitely be greatly reduced. Ada stood on the universe ring. His eyes were blurred. He also figured out that someone had sneak attacked him, but he didn't know which master had saved him. The warriors of the Celestial Star Sacred Clan under He Yuani suddenly fought with the warriors of He Yuanjun. The scene was extremely chaotic. Don't worry about them. Kill Ada. He Yuanjun's eyes were full of murderous intent. Fortunately, he didn't fly into a rage out of humiliation in order to kill He Lin. He still had a trace of consciousness. City Lord He Feng Yuan had set up this universe ring because he couldn't bear to see his heirs killing each other. He only allowed his heirs to fight with their subordinates and determine who was the best candidate to inherit the position of City Lord through business. Waterdrop City had been in operation for many years. The scale of the city was several times larger than Tang Ao's Bluestone City. It could be seen that City Lord He Feng Yuan had a way of making money. If his children didn't know how to do business, then even if they became City Lord by force, they would still destroy their family business. He Yuanchao's eyes lit up, and he sighed secretly. It was a pity that He Yuanjun wasn't stupid enough to order to attack He Lin. Otherwise, He Yuanjun, a strong opponent, would definitely be eliminated. His chances of winning the position of City Lord would be even higher. He Yuanchao was also a smart person. Although he was very powerful when he just stood up, when he actually sent his men to attack, he was very careful. In the chaos, the 9 disciples of the merciless clan retreated from the crowd and quickly attacked Ada on the ring. Their attacks were filled with murderous intent. Although the martial methods of the merciless clan were nothing special, their fighting ability was very strong. They killed Ada when he Yuan Jun ordered them to. It could be seen how brainwashed they were. Duh, run. He Lin let out a sorrowful cry. His eyes were filled with tears like a spring. Ada didn't even think and jumped into the crowd from the ring. He didn't expect such a chaotic thing to happen. Ada was also a little unprepared. However, at this moment, a shadow jumped out from the crowd like lightning. It was Tang Ao. Facing the 9 masters at the peak of the body, refining realm, flying from the sky, Tang Ao was not afraid at all. His legs kept bouncing, and he borrowed strength in the air a few times. In a few seconds, he had arrived in front of the 9 disciples of the merciless clan. Who is that? Is he that strong? Everyone was shocked. Lei Liang was dumbfounded. He stared at Tang Ao, who was rushing out like a ghost. Huh! Tang Ao let out a deep sound. His Zhen Qi kept pouring into his legs. Mystic Valley Leg. Chapter 86. Crazy. This group of people had completely lost their minds. This was what all the warriors under the ring of heaven and earth were thinking. They had completely disregarded the rules of the ring of heaven and earth and turned from a challenge into a group battle. Looking at the 2 sides fighting in a row on the viewing platform, everyone had mixed feelings. On the viewing platform, He Yuan's disciples from the Divine Star clan and He Yuan's disciples from the Heartless clan were fighting. In a short amount of time, it was hard to tell who had the upper hand. He Yuan Jun and He Yuan sat on their big chairs. Their gazes met, and sparks flew in the air. Both of their gazes looked like they were about to devour each other, as if they wanted to swallow each other alive. The corner of He Yuan's mouth curled into a sneer as he retracted his gaze. The group of martial artists behind him were all genius disciples of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect. The foundation and strength of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect was not something the Heartless Sect could compare with. With 100 moves, no, 50 moves, He Yuan believed that his subordinates could completely suppress the Heartless clan's disciples. What? At this moment, He Yuan Jun let out a scream. He Yuan was stunned and saw He Yuan Jun staring at the ring of heaven and earth, dumbfounded. The group of young masters all shifted their gazes to the ring of heaven and earth. Tang Ao let out a deep roar. Spiritual chi continuously poured into his legs. Mystic Valley Kick. Tang Ao's ghost-like body sped up again. He kicked out 9 times in an instant. It was as if he had 9 clones in an instant, and they landed on the 9 figures. Puff! The 9 Heartless Martial School disciples all felt a huge force coming at them. They were kicked away like kites with broken strings. 9 streams of blood streaked across the sky in an eye-catching arc. It was the blood mist that the 9 Heartless Martial School disciples had spat out. It was you. He Yuan's eyes immediately reddened. When his underlings ambushed Ada just now, it was Tang Ao's handiwork, causing Zhou Ji to leave the stage with heavy injuries. Now, this Tang Ao actually dared to come onto the stage and injure his underlings. He Yuan Jun immediately flew into a rage. With a wave of his hand, a middle-aged man beside him moved, turning into a blur and flying towards where Tang Ao was. That middle-aged person was the only Origin Realm expert sent by the Heartless School. He was a vice elder of the Duty Hall, and he had the cultivation of the 3rd level of the Origin Realm. From this, it could be seen that although the Heartless sect was ranked at the bottom of the Eastern region, they had put in a lot of effort to fight for the position of City Lord of Water Pearl City. Lei Liang had long since been dumbstruck, his eyeballs almost popping out. He could only feel that the person beside him had suddenly disappeared. When he found the person again, the person had already jumped onto the stage and injured 9 disciples of the Heartless Martial School in an instant. Who is this person? Looking at his clothing, he seems to be a disciple of the 7 Kills School. Lei Liang's heart went cold. Just now, when Tang Ao asked some questions about Water Pearl City, he was like a senior giving him pointers. Now, The strength that Tang Ao displayed made Lei Liang's forehead drenched in cold sweat. He had actually given pointers to a powerful person from the 7-kill school for so long. In the sky above the universe ring, after Tang Ao instantly sent the 9 heartless sect disciples flying, his face went dry and he loudly shouted, "The young ones are useless. Should I replace them with the old ones?" Tang Ao was also cursing in his heart. The person who was flying towards him had the strength of the 3rd level of the Origin Realm. He already had the ability to fly in the air. The 9 disciples of the Heartless sect, who were sent flying by him, had all jumped onto the stage. This middle-aged man's figure, however, flew. "Aqua Sunflower Seal." The middle-aged man from the Heartless sect shouted loudly. He condensed a hand seal, and a mysterious aura condensed around him like a spiral. Faint wrinkles appeared in the surrounding space. It was a type of comprehension the Origin Realm had towards the world. The middle-aged man's first attack was a killing attack. 100 Battle Spear Soul, Spear of Slaughter. Tang Ao's eyes turned cold. After gauging the power of the middle-aged man's attack, he decided to use the 100 Battle Spear Soul that had reached the peak of compatibility. Also, Tang Ao did not dare to underestimate it. After all, the middle-aged man was a true Origin Realm cultivator. Asterisk boom. Asterisk, a huge explosion rang out. The 100 Battle Spear Soul spear that was filled with the aura of slaughter collided with the seal and made a shocking explosion. A strong wind spread out from where the two of them fought. The cultivators below the universe ring all felt the strong wind attack them. A group of low-level cultivators even took 2 steps back. Everyone covered their faces with their sleeves. After the strong wind disappeared, they quickly moved their sleeves away and concentrated on what was going to happen on the stage. Asterisk thud, thud, asterisk 2 clear sounds rang out. Tang Ao fell onto the universe ring as if he was 1,000 pounds. 2 3-inch deep footprints appeared on the ground under Tang Ao's feet. Tang Ao raised his head and his face changed. "You have a nerve to attack a second time." In the air, the middle-aged man from the Heartless sect trembled, and he condensed 4 fate spirits. The 4 fate spirits floated above his head, and there was a feeling of looking down on everyone and looking down on the entire place. Everyone below the stage was stunned, but they quickly reacted. Too shameless. You're already 70 or 80 years old, and you have a nerve to attack a junior a second time? Do the elders of the Heartless sect bully the weak like this? What a pretentious name like the Heartless sect. You might as well change your name to the Shameless sect. The middle-aged elder's face turned red. He was clearly in his 40s, but he was said to be an old man in his 70s or 80s. Facing the ridicule and abuse from the audience, the middle-aged elder couldn't help but hesitate, and he awkwardly withdrew the strongest attack he had condensed. "Huo Ping, hurry up and come here." He Yuan Jun let out a loud yell at this moment. Her voice was filled with anxiety. Huo Ping was the middle-aged man. He was slightly stunned and turned around, but he saw the disciples of the Heartless sect being beaten back by the disciples of the Celestial Star Sacred Sect. The disciples of the Heartless sect were not as strong as the disciples of the Celestial Star Sacred Sect under He Yuan's command. Moreover, they had sent 9 elites to kill Ada. The disciples of the Heartless sect were quickly beaten back by the disciples of the Celestial Star Sacred Sect. "Stop!" Huo Ping let out an angry roar. He moved his body and flew to the center of the battlefield in an instant. In just 15 minutes, the window frames and beams on the viewing platform had been broken into pieces because of the fight between the disciples. The crowd that was standing in a straight line immediately scattered, giving the disciples of the Heartless sect and the disciples of the Celestial Star Sacred Sect enough space to fight. He Yuan's face turned green from the beating. He finally understood how powerful the second-ranked sect in the East region was. They could be distinguished by the quality of their disciples. Chapter 87. Stop! How dare you injure a disciple of the Heartless School in front of me? Are you looking to die? Huo Ping jumped into the battlefield and asked aggressively. The enormous aura of the Origin Realm immediately pressured the disciples of the sacred Heavenly Star clan. Everyone revealed expressions of dread. How dare you? You, an old man, are bullying the younger generation of the sacred Heavenly Star clan. Do you think there are no elders in the sacred Heavenly Star clan? He coldly replied. The sacred Heavenly Star clan was the second-ranked clan in the eastern region. In He's eyes, the 11th-ranked Heartless School was not even worth mentioning. From He's point of view, it was already against the rules for Heartless sect to send out an elder. It was the norm for the sect to send out disciples to train and assist the forces in the secular world to obtain resources. What was sending out an elder who was 40 or 50 years old? After hearing He's yell, strangely, Huaping did not say anything else. He knew it was against the rules for him to go down to the mortal world, but assisting He Yuanjun was a death order from the clan. The Heartless School was determined to win the City Lord of Water Pearl City. They did not even care about losing some face. They were willing to use any means necessary. As long as they could obtain the resources that Water Pearl City paid as tribute every year, all of that would not be a problem. Seeing that the disciples of the sacred Heavenly Star clan stopped because of him, Huaping did not do anything else. He sullenly endured He's yell. After a huge conflict, what replaced it was relative peace. Everyone below the stage was as quiet as cicadas in winter, waiting for the next development. He Yuanjun also sat where he was with a twisted face. This time, he could not make a fuss anymore. His plan of getting a badge from Elin, the pushover, was completely gone. Looking around, He Yuanjun's expression became even darker. The disciples of the Heartless clan under her command were all injured. Although there were no deaths or injuries, light or heavy injuries were unavoidable, especially her capable General Zhouji. His tendons and veins were close to shattering after Da's blade, Qi, entered his body. Even if he did not die, he would definitely suffer from a chronic disease. In the end, He Yuanjun's gaze landed on Tang Ao. It was that person who messed up his entire plan. It was this person who caused him to lose the opportunity to obtain the token. However, Tang Ao's strength also made He Yuanjun endlessly fearful. He could forcefully take an attack from Huaping, who was at the 3rd level of the Origin Realm, and not be at a disadvantage. In an instant, he kicked away 9 elite disciples from the Heartless School. How could Huaping not be fearful of that skill? What kind of place is this universe ring? Who are you? Why are you here to cause trouble? Huaping stopped arguing with He and pointed his gun at Tang Ao. What a joke. Let's find out who's causing trouble, okay? The two of them were sparring one-on-one. As soon as you saw that you couldn't defeat them, you sneak attacked them and ganged up on them. We all saw it clearly. Tang Ao sneered, and he was not afraid at all because they were Origin Realm experts. Yeah, an old man in his 40s following his master to bully a child who hasn't even reached adulthood yet. How heartless. Old man, hurry up and come down. Don't embarrass yourself on the stage anymore. Old man, piss off. Just as Tang Ao finished speaking, the other martial artist below the universe ring resonated with him. In an instant, earth-shaking curses rang out. Huaping's face suddenly reddened. He was only 40 years old, and he was called an old man again. It was no wonder. Since the ancient times, the resources of the cities were fought over by the disciples of the big sections. The number of times where elders appeared was extremely rare. The young martial artists had their own young martial artist circles. Huaping forcefully squeezed his way in, so it would be strange if he didn't suffer. A country has its laws, and a family has its rules. The fight for the universe ring is the He family's internal family matter. You are an outsider. What right do you have to interfere? You aren't any young master's retainer, nor are you a member of the He family. What right do you have to interfere? Huaping said with a flushed face. Although he was being condemned by thousands of people, for the sake of the mission given to him by his sect, he had no choice but to continue speaking. I am a disciple of the 7 Kills sect. This time, I came down from the mountain to gain experience. When I passed by Waterbead City, I saw such a heartless scene. An elder brother bullying a weak younger brother, an elder disregarding his seniority and attacking a junior, and now, you, an old man, actually want to teach me a lesson. How ridiculous, Tang Ao said sarcastically. His eyes were filled with contempt as he looked at Huaping. 7 Kills sect? The people below the stage were shocked. The 7 Kills sect was the third-ranked sect in the Eastern Domain. They had a vast influence and many experts under their banner. Every disciple under their banner was an elite. The people below the stage were also shocked. You are a disciple of the 7 Kills sect? Huaping looked at the clothes that Tang Ao was wearing in a daze. He really was a disciple of the 7 Kills sect. Yuanjuan's face turned even paler. This Tang Ao was a disciple of the 7 Kills sect. Therefore, Yuanjun did not dare to do anything to him anymore. A playful expression appeared on Yuan's face. He looked like he was watching a good show. This Tang Ao was a disciple of the 7 Kills sect. Moreover, he was going against Yuanjun, whom he had the worst relationship with. Yuan's mood suddenly became very good, and he felt the pleasure of revenge. That's right. I will never change my name or my surname. I am the disciple of the 7 Kills sect, Tang Ao. Tang Ao waved his robe. His elegance made the eyes of all the female disciples below the stage brighten. Helin's eyes turned red. He did not expect that there would be a powerful expert helping him at this moment. Moreover, it was a disciple of the 7 Kills sect, which was ranked third in the Eastern Domain. Although Yuan was helping Helin on the surface, in reality, he only wanted the token in Helin's hand. Helin was very clear that Yuan commanded the disciples of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect to fight against the disciples of the Heartless Sect. It was just to show off his powerful background in front of everyone. Among everyone present, only Tang Ao dared to stand out. Helin was very grateful. Only this Tang Ao was truly helping him. In fact, Helin was not wrong. Tang Ao really wanted to help Helin. However, Helin did not know Tang Ao's purpose. Tang Ao's purpose was to support Helin and make the entire Water Pearl City a vassal force of the 7 Kills sect. From there, he would receive a large amount of resources from the Water Pearl City. The Water Pearl City had been without a ruler for many years because the city lord, Feng Yuan, was an extremely capable administrator. He only respected the imperial court. Although he had a hand over a certain amount of resources to the imperial court every year, these resources were just a drop in the ocean compared to the resources that the Water Pearl City produced every year. On the contrary, Feng Yuan had married many women from the Eastern Domain's powerful forces. He had used all kinds of resources to make the Water Pearl City grow stronger. However, now that Feng Yuan's lifespan was coming to an end, the Water Pearl City had become a hot commodity that all the powerful forces were fighting over. Chapter 88. 13th Young Master. May I ask if your subordinate, Zhou Ji, has lost a young master Helin's subordinate? So should he hand over his token to young master Helin? Tang Ao narrowed his eyes and asked the question that everyone was most concerned about. Yuanjuan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. She was so angry at Tang Ao that she almost spat out blood. You save people, and it's not enough? You still dare to ask me for my token? All the young master's expressions became very strange. According to the rules, Ada defeated Zhou Ji, so Yuanjun should hand over her token. But who was Helin, other than the young mistress of the He clan? Among the 17 young masters, there was only one whose mother was not from a powerful clan. All the young masters present, including the young mistresses who could not fight for the position of the city leader because of their gender, had mothers from powerful clans. 17th young master, Helin's mother was a servant girl, so he was at a disadvantage in the fight for the position of the city leader. In everyone's eyes, Helin was an existence that was not noticed at all. Basically, in everyone's eyes, Helin was not a threat at all. However, the reality was that Helin's subordinate, Ada, suddenly showed off his prowess. He used an extraordinary and saintly basic blade skill to defeat Yuanjuan's general, Zhou Ji. This made Yuanjun suffer. The rule of the Ring of Heaven and Earth was to send out their elites to compete. Whoever won had to hand over their token. 13th brother, the competition is over. Shouldn't you hand over your token to 17th brother? He Yuanyi was the first to speak. He was really angry with He Yuanjun. His celestial divine clan disciples had already fought with the heartless clan's disciples. It was impossible that he wasn't angry. He Yuanyi, don't go too far. He Yuanjun was so angry that he laughed. He gave his token to He Lin. Even if he gave it to He Lin probably wouldn't dare to accept it. He Yuanyi's words were just to provoke him. He Yuanyi sneered and turned his head away. He did not speak anymore, but the smile on his face was so wide that everyone below the ring of heaven and earth could see it clearly. Your subordinate lost, and you still won't hand over your token? Then what are the rules of the ring of heaven and earth? What's the point of Father letting our subordinates compete in the universe ring? At this moment, He Yuanchao also spoke. Currently, the disciples of the heartless sect under He Yuanyi's banner were all injured. Although the disciples of the Heavenly Star Sacred Sect were strong, they were more or less injured. If He Yuanjun really gave the token in her hand to He Lin, then there would be one less person from the four great forces of Waterdrop City. That would reduce He Yuanchao's chances of winning to 1 in 3. So now that He Yuanchao saw He Yuanyi and He Yuanjun arguing with each other, he was overjoyed. After all, with one less competitor, his chances of winning the city lore position would be higher. The other heirs with slightly lower backgrounds all had different expressions on their faces. They had never thought that Elin would actually dare to resist. Ada's counterattack was also an accident. No one would have thought that a servant who did not know high-level martial arts techniques could actually defeat a powerful cultivator from the Heartless sect. That extraordinary basic blade technique had also blinded everyone. These heirs were all quietly waiting for the situation to change. They would use He Lin's final outcome as a reference. If He Lin did not have a good outcome after handing over the token, then they would not easily hand over the token in their hands. However, facing such an awkward situation, He Lin spoke at the right time. My younger brother is untalented. I was lucky enough to obtain a victory. It was purely an accident. My younger brother doesn't want this token. I only want to protect what belongs to me. I don't dare to think about seizing the position of the city lord. He Lin's tone was neither servile nor overbearing, but it made people feel a sense of humility. At least you know what's good for you, kid. He Yuanjuan's expression softened a little. Today, he had lost all his face in the heaven and earth ring. If He Lin really dared to accept the token in his hand, He Yuanjun would probably completely lose his mind tonight and immediately send people to assassinate He Lin. However, after all these twists and turns, He Yuanjun also calmed down a little. He also realized the power that He Yuanyi and the other two young masters had in their hands. The power of He Yuanyi's celestial sacred clan made He Yuanjun feel like he had been slapped in the face, letting He Yuanjun know that Waterdrop City did not belong to him alone. The 9th young master, He Yuanchao, was also extremely powerful in this battle. The Heavenly Moon sect, which was ranked 9th in the eastern region, was very powerful. Although it was not as powerful as He Yuanyi's celestial sacred clan, it was not afraid of the heartless sect behind He Yuanjun. The eldest young master, He Yuanza, naturally did not need to be mentioned. Although his mother was from the Su clan of Ming City, and his background was slightly weaker than the others, He Yuanza had accumulated a lot in Waterdrop City over the years. The warriors standing next to him were also the most among all the heirs, so he was definitely the most powerful among all the heirs. Today's matter ends here. I hope young master He Yuanjun knows what to do. Tang Ao left these words coldly. He was not afraid of He Yuanjuan's anger at all. After leaving these words, his body was like the wind, and he disappeared from everyone's sight after a few floats. Umph, He Yuanjun snorted coldly. With a gaze that looked like he was going to devour someone, he watched Tang Ao leave. If it were not for Tang Ao, how could his subordinate, Zhou Ji, lose to Ada? In fact, He Yuanjun really blamed Zhou Ji wrongly. Although could practice a basic blade skill to the level of divine transcendence, Zhou Ji also gradually stood firm with a high-level sword skill after dozens of moves. As long as Zhou Ji was given some time, he would definitely be able to defeat Ada, but who knew that when he was about to counterattack, He Yuan-jun could not hold it in and sent a warrior to sneak attack Ada. Zhou Ji had to cooperate and condense the strongest attack. He used up all his Zhen Yuan to fight against Ada. In the end, Tang Ao suddenly kicked a stone and sent the sneak attacker flying, causing the sneak attack to fail. Ada's life spirit was also stronger than Zhou Ji's. In the end, Zhou Ji could only sullenly fail. After Tang Ao left, the universe ring naturally came to an end. After He Yuan's disciples from the Celestial Star's sacred sect and He Yuanjuan's disciples from the Heartless sect fought, the universe ring naturally could not continue. They had already fought the team battle, so how could they fight one-on-one? The City Lord's mansion sent an order for all the young masters to go back and rest. The universe ring still needed to be reformulated. The warriors who came to watch also felt that it was lively enough this time. Seeing He Yuan and He Yuan-jun fall out with each other, they were very satisfied. This kind of battle was usually very rare. When passing by He Lin, He Yuanza gave He Lin a secretive smile, which made He Lin slightly stunned. Chapter 89. The Young Masters Dispersed. After today's farce, the ranking of the young masters should be re-evaluated. The eldest young master, He Yuanza, was still in the highest position. As the oldest, his accumulation over the years was enough for him to look down on all of his descendants. The 11th young master, He Yuan, had the strongest backing. He had the Celestial Sacred Clan, which was ranked number 2 in the eastern region. After the battle with He Yuan-jun, everyone started to re-evaluate him. He Yuan's underlings had completely crushed He Yuan-jun's underlings in the group battle. He Yuan-jun's underlings were all injured. If it were not for Elder Huaping, the situation would have been even worse. The 9th young master, He Yuanxiao, was quite slick in handling things. In this battle, He Yuanxiao had appropriately sowed discord. After he succeeded, he had successfully retreated. This not only weakened He Yuan-jun's power, but also indirectly pinched He Yuan's arrogance. The 13th young master, He Yuan-jun's performance in the Heaven and Earth arena was terrible. He originally wanted to use the Heartless clan's power to show off in the Heaven and Earth arena and expand his influence in the Dewdrop City. However, in the end, he failed. Not only did he not make a name for himself, but his underlings were also injured. In a short period of time, He Yuan-jun would not be able to make any waves. There were a total of 17 young masters in the Dewdrop City. These 4 young masters were the most competitive ones. The rest of the young masters, such as He Yuan-jong, who was defeated by He Yuanza, had weaker maternal backgrounds. Even if they still wanted the position of the city master, they did not have the strength to do so. Now, other than the so-called 4 great young masters, the rest of the young masters were thinking about who they should entrust the token in their hands to. Today, everyone saw how He Yuan-jun forced He Lin to abdicate the throne. This was also a signal for them to make a decision as soon as possible. However, no one could predict who would be the master of the city in the end. Hence, these young masters with weak power were very hesitant. They only hoped that they could entrust the token to someone who could fight for the position of the master of the city so that they could live the rest of their lives in luxury and enjoy the rest of their lives in peace. These weak young masters and ladies were all hesitating on which side to choose. They were thinking about who they should give their tokens to, except for one person. That person was He Lin. He Lin's mansion was in the western suburbs of the Dewdrop City. The mansion was huge, but the interior decoration was very simple. He Lin was the most ordinary one among the concubines, born from He Fengyuan and a servant girl after drinking. Therefore, his mother's power was very weak. Growing from a young, he did not have any resources. Therefore, He Lin knew the principle of living frugally and keeping a low profile. However, He Lin was He Fengyuan's real son after all, so the mansion was still much more spacious than many ordinary families. It had a black lacquer door with a silver ring, a cobblestone path, and a gray wall with mottled plum blossoms inside the door. The simplicity revealed the owner's love for cleanliness. The mansion's house. Along, master. He lins. Yin he I master I 1-1. Master, don't be impulsive. If it wasn't for Tang Ao's help, we wouldn't have escaped so easily. Dingbo, prepare a small gift. Bring Chun Hua and Chun Tao to that young master and thank him, he Lin sighed. He was touched when he thought of Tang Ao's bravery and righteousness. Ada, don't be impulsive. If it wasn't for that young master Tang Ao helping us today, we wouldn't have been able to escape so easily. Uncle Ding, prepare a small gift and bring Chun Hua and Chun Tao to that young master to thank him. He Lin sighed. He couldn't help but feel moved when he thought of Tang Ao's righteous actions today. Young master, today, Origin June, he really went too far. However, we can't just sit and wait for death. Luckily, young master was calm enough today and didn't take Origin Junie's token. Otherwise, I'm afraid he would have ordered his underlings to do something in the dark, Uncle Ding said faintly. Dingbo, what do you think? He Lin asked softly. I suggest that we recruit that young Master Tang as our subordinate, and then fight for the position of City Lord. Dingbo gritted his teeth, and his aged body released an extremely strong will of struggle. This, He Lin was shocked. As a man whose mother didn't have any background, he didn't think much about the battle for the position of Castellan. Master Tang has an extraordinary bearing. He comes from the Seven Kills sect, which is ranked 3rd in the East Domain. If we can recruit him to fight for the position of Castellan, we'll definitely get extraordinary results, Yinda said timely. He Lin's actions today made them understand one thing. In this world, even if you don't cause trouble, there will be people who will. It's pure nonsense that flies don't bite a seamless egg. That's right. Master, you've seen what happened today. Our branch has always been doing things in a low-profile manner, and we didn't fight for the position of Castellan. Yet, we were provoked again and again by He Lin's side. The other masters all looked on with cold eyes, and some even threw stones at us when we were down. We might as well go all the way and recruit Master Tang to take revenge, Dingbo said with righteous indignation. He was a genuine Origin Realm cultivator. When he was young, he was recruited to Waterdrop City. He had always been by He Fengyuan's side, always at his beck and call. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? This, Dingbo Ada He Lin, I'm not a coward. At first, I only wanted to protect my own token and protect the thing that I should have. But now, I'm being coveted again and again. I want to fight back, but I'm afraid that Master Tang's eyes are too high. This small temple of mine can't hold such a great Buddha like him. He Lin slowly spoke out his thoughts in his heart. His words at the end were a bit discouraged. How would we know if we don't try? Ada said with a bit of excitement. That's right, Master. How would we know if we don't try? Dingbo also said with excitement. This. All right, go and prepare a small gift. At the very least, I have to go and thank him personally. Find out where young Master Tang is as soon as possible, in case he leaves Waterpearl City. He Lin nodded his head, agreeing to the two suggestion. In an inn in Water Droplet City, Tang Ao sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. After the battle, just now, Tang Ao only felt that the true origin in his body was abnormally active. An appropriate battle was very beneficial to cultivation. After this battle, the true origin and potential of his body were stimulated. That afternoon, the true origin in Tang Ao's body broke out of his body and adhered to the skin of his body to refine his flesh. That night, Tang Ao's iron steel sand broke through to the profound realm. Because of these few days of hurrying on the road, the mysterious valley legs also broke through to the profound realm. His true origin flowed inside and outside his body and condensed. On the contrary, the ice crystal sword and ancient spirit finger that Lin Jiang gave him progressed very slowly. With a ka sound, the last acupuncture point finally melted under the nourishment of the true origin. Tang Ao opened his eyes. At this moment, he broke through the 7th level of the body, refining realm, and reached the 8th level. Chapter 90. The iron steel sand was divided into 12 levels. At that moment, Tang Ao had cultivated it to the 6th level. Iron Steel Sand 6th level. Activate the Iron Steel Sand body to shatter the enemy's sword, spear, and stick. Condense the Jun formula. Iron Steel Sand 9th level. When activated, the Iron Steel Sand will cover the entire body. It will be difficult for those under the Origin Realm to be injured when fighting barehanded. Iron Steel Sand 12th level. The body will be like an iron wall. Even if you burn it with true fire, it will be difficult to refine it. From the 6th level onwards, an attack method would appear in the Iron Steel Sand. It was called the Jun formula. As the name suggested, when the opponent's attack landed on Tang Ao's body, there would be a recoil. The recoil of the recoil would injure the opponent. The breakthrough this time was beneficial to the great battle on the Universe Ring. Tang Ao cultivated for a day and a night. After he felt that he had gained a lot, he officially came out. The so-called officially came out was actually as simple as opening his eyes. At that moment, Tang Ao was in the tavern. Also, Tang Ao didn't like sloppy etiquette. As the saying goes, all living things are complicated, but the way is simple. After Tang Ao poured a cup of tea, there was a knock on the door. "Who is it?" Tang Ao sipped the tea and said indifferently, "I am He Lin. I have come to thank you." He Lin's gentle voice rang out. Tang Ao put down the teacup. He squinted his eyes and a hint of light shot out. He finally came. Tang Ao's heart was on the mission. He Lin came at the right time. "Come in." Tang Ao glanced, and the door opened. At that moment, in He Yuanjuan's residence. He Yuanjuan's residence was located in the eastern suburbs of Water Pearl City. There were many servants in the residence. Compared to He Lin's residence, just the number of servants showed that He Yuanjuan's resources were many times more than He Lin's. The pavilions, terraces, and buildings were extraordinary. If one looked down from the sky, one could see that the lines of the flat roads were complicated. A manservant passed through the complicated paths. His pace was hurried. It was obvious that he had an urgent matter to see He Yuanjun. "Young master, that He Lin went to find that Tang Ao," the manservant said respectfully. His face was covered in cold sweat. Bang! The teacup in He Yuanjuan's hand broke into pieces. "Why is this kid looking for him? Do you want to rebel?" Cough, cough. Zhou Ji coughed as he walked out and said, "Young master, He Lin must have ulterior motives when he went to look for Tang Ao. Young master, you can't just watch as he colludes with Tang Ao. Do I need you to teach me that? Trash." He Yuanjun glared at Zhou Ji. Her heart was full of contempt for Zhou Ji. Zhou Ji was the elite of the elites sent by the Heartless clan. He was said to be omnipotent by the Heartless clan, but who knew that he could not even win against a useless young master servant? What did He Yuanjun think? Ever since Zhou Ji lost to Ada that day, Zhou Ji's status had plummeted. Zhou Ji also felt bitter in his heart. The details of the fight with Ada that day were clear to Zhou Ji. He had used his high-level sword art to stabilize his position. He only needed a few dozen moves to turn defeat into victory and take down Ada, young master. That Ada only used his extraordinary and divine basic sword art to temporarily suppress me. It was just a flash in the pan. With my high-level sword art, I can enough. Hua! The broken pieces of the teacup all fell on the ground in front of Zhou Ji. He Yuanjun said angrily, "You trash. A loss is a loss. Why are you looking for so many excuses?" Zhou Ji hurriedly lowered his head and thought to himself, "It's all your fault. Otherwise, things wouldn't have turned out like this. If He Lin didn't know his limits, your token would have been taken away by a good-for-nothing young master." Zhou Ji was one of the top geniuses in the Heartless School. Although he was a bit old, as long as he broke into the Origin Realm, he could become an elder in the Heartless School. Right now, because of the school's order, he had to lower his voice to He Yuanjun. Zhou Ji had a stomach full of grievances and a stomach full of anger. Huaping saw that Zhou Ji could not hold it in anymore, and he spoke. "Young master, He Lin and Tang Ao must have some ulterior motives for meeting. We cannot just watch as Tang Ao and He Lin come into contact. We must stop them." He Yuanjun took a deep breath and calmed the agitation in his heart. After all, Huaping was an elder in the Heartless School. He had to give him some face. Elder Hua, if I may ask, what do you think? He Yuan-jun coldly said. There was no emotion in her tone. Pinching again, Elder Hua frowned. Although he did not take down Tang Ao, if he didn't make a move, the Heartless School's disciples would have been killed by He Yuan-jun because of the conflict with the Celestial Sacred School's disciples. He Yuan-jun must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's guts. He even dared to pinch an elder. If He Yuan-jun's mother wasn't his senior in the same generation, Elder Hua really wanted to slap He Yuan-jun to let him know his limits. But at the end, Elder Hua only frowned. After all, the fight for the position of the Lord of the City was the most important thing. I'm afraid we cannot keep Tang Ao, the disciple from the Seven Kills School. If he truly belongs to Helin, I'm afraid there will be another wave of trouble. From what I see, why not just kill Tang Ao right away to avoid more trouble? First, we've already offended Helin. If Helin gains power, he will definitely take revenge on us. Second, that day, Tang Ao ruined young master's prestige. If we don't take revenge appropriately, I'm afraid no one in the city will respect young master anymore. He Yuan-jun was so frightened that she broke out in a cold sweat. She exclaimed, "Are you crazy? You wanted to kill a disciple from the Seven Kills School? This trash who only eats soft and fears hard." Hua Ping sneered in his heart, but on the surface he still cupped his hands respectfully and said, "Young master, junior nephew Zhou Ji is right. Even if we don't kill that Tang Ao, we should at least give him an appropriate blow. Otherwise, who in the city will respect young master in the future?" He Yuan-jun clenched his teeth. The world was big, but his face was the most important. He decided, "All right, bring someone there immediately." He Yuan-jun pointed at the servant who had been silent and said, "You, lead the way." The servant was shocked. Something big was going to happen. Inside the inn, Helin respectfully bowed to Tang Ao. "Young Master Tang, thank you for your help that day." Tang Ao quickly helped Helin up. "I don't deserve it. There's no need for such a big bow. Tang Ao doesn't deserve it." Helin extended his hand. Uncle Ding and Lord each took a big gift and respectfully placed it on the wooden table beside Tang Ao. "If you want to come, then come. Why bring so many gifts?" Tang Ao was pleased. This Helin's way of handling things was very thoughtful, better than what Tang Ao had expected. Tang Ao initially thought that Helin was just a weak and useless young master, but now it seemed that Helin was a good seedling with a healthy IQ and high EQ. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.